Good morning, folks. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to my live stream. My name is Jim, and I used to be a type 2 diabetic. And I say that I used to be a type 2 diabetic very, very intentionally. I used to be a type 2 diabetic. Well, I don't like that view. I don't like that view at all. Let me see. I think that's too close. Okay. Camera angles. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to my live stream. My name is Jim, and I used to be a type 2 diabetic. And I love being able to say that. I used to be a type 2 diabetic. I'm not anymore. I'm not. When I got it, I thought it was going to be the rest of my life. I thought I was going to be battling this thing, and I don't have it anymore. And honestly, I've been able to help more than 50 people in the last year say the exact same thing. And I love doing that. So if that's something that sounds interesting, then stick around for this live stream. Folks, I've reversed my type 2 diabetes. I'm in remission from my type 2 diabetes. I don't take medication anymore because my doctor told me I didn't have to. At one point, I had a 12.2% A1C. I now have a 5.1% A1C. So, however you want to word it, I just don't have it anymore. And I love doing these live streams and telling people exactly what it is that I do to achieve that. And there are a lot of people who are now being able to say the exact same thing. So if that is something that sounds interesting to you, if that's something that you would like to be able to say, I used to be a type 2 diabetic, then stick around for this live stream. And I'm going to tell you everything that I do. More than that, if that's something that somebody that you know or care about could benefit from, then let's share this live stream with them and let's help get them healthy as well. Also, you will see Amanda in the comment section. That is my much better half, my beautiful bride, Amanda. If you should see her answer any questions throughout this live stream, she's answering on my behalf. Definitely, she knows me better than I do. She'll tell you that. So anyway, let me do another round of introductions for the people that are just now joining this live stream. Welcome to my live stream. My name is Jim, and I used to be a type 2 diabetic. And I love being able to say that. I used to be a type 2 diabetic. I'm not anymore. I have reversed it. Maybe you've heard that it is a chronic and progressive disease. You can't reverse it. You're with it forever. Well, I've reversed it. Dr. Jason Fung is a nephrologist out of Toronto, Canada, and he says that it's a fully reversible disease. It is not chronic. It is not progressive, right? I'm in remission from it. Well, you know what? We're actually starting to hear the American Diabetes Association have rumbles of being able to reverse go into remission. But I found an article on NIH.gov that suggests that type 2 diabetes remission is achievable, oftentimes through weight loss. And then furthermore, my doctor, my endocrinologist, remember, I had a 12.2% A1C. I now have a 5.1. She said I didn't need my medications anymore. I've reversed it. So however you want to word it, I just don't have it anymore. I've been completely unmedicated for nearly 15 months now. 14 months, I guess a little over 14 months. So if that is something that sounds interesting to you, then stick around for this live stream. I'm going to tell you everything that I do to achieve that every single day. And truth be told, it is super simple. Like sometimes we overthink things. Maybe we get stuck in a trap. I'm telling you, you're going to be a little bit shocked at how easy it is to achieve. Okay. And I'm not going to suggest that you never have a carbohydrate again or that you spend 27 hours a day in the gym. Those are certainly helpful tools, but they are not me. I don't do that. So have no fear. We're not going to go to extreme measures, but there are certain things that as I go through, you'd be like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. That makes total sense. In fact, I bet you everything I'm going to tell you, you've probably heard somewhere along the way. So let me do one more round of introductions for the people that are just now joining us, and then we'll dive right into it, okay? So bear with me. Folks, welcome to my live stream. My name is Jim, and I used to be a type 2 diabetic, and I love being able to say that. I used to be a type 2 diabetic. I have reversed my type 2 diabetes. I'm in remission from my type 2 diabetes. I don't take medication anymore because my doctor told me I don't have to. I don't have diabetes anymore. And I love doing these live streams and telling people exactly what I do all day, every day to achieve that. So if that is something that sounds interesting to you, then stick around for this live stream. More than that, if that's something that somebody you know or care about could benefit from, then please share this live stream with them. Information is power. If you don't like what I'm saying, then you know what's the harm? But what if I say something that's able to alter your life, right? What if something comes out of my mouth that you're like, man, that makes sense. Let me keep going. Okay. There's no harm in listening, right? So with that aside, I'm going to talk about a 3-step protocol that I adhere to. I will point out that we are live on multiple platforms, 10 different platforms right now. If you can think of a social media platform, I am on it right now. Hi, Brenda. How are you? We are live on TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, you name it. We're on it. YouTube, and we've got listeners on all of those right now. So should you be on one of those, please feel free to interact. You'll see I'm able to pin comments so that people on Twitch can see people on TikTok's comments. So please stick around and engage with me. This is a very interactive live stream. Good morning, Brenda, by the way. Okay, so what did I do to achieve my type 2 diabetes remission, reversal, whatever you want to call it? Well, the first thing I did was started focusing on the root cause. The root cause of type 2 diabetes is something called insulin resistance. This little image behind me, insulin resistance. What's up, Gary? How are you, buddy? Insulin resistance. So understanding insulin resistance and its role in type 2 diabetes, once you understand that, it becomes pretty easy to reverse insulin resistance. And if we can do that, well, then you start to see things like type 2 diabetes either going completely away or becoming much more better managed. So that's the key, is reversing the insulin resistance. And that's what this conversation is going to be about throughout this live stream. Okay. So what is insulin resistance? Let's dive into that real quick. Good morning, Gene. How are you? Let's dive into this. What is insulin resistance? Well, let's start with what is insulin? What is insulin? And I say that, I'm not trying to be condescending to anybody, but I didn't understand it when I first got diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. I really didn't understand what insulin was. First off, it's the most active hormone in your body. Let's just start there. You got a hormone problem. Weird to say, right? So what is insulin? What is its role? How does it work? When we consume a carbohydrate, something like a slice of bread, our body converts that carbohydrate to sugar. Right? We've heard of that, right? And that sugar goes out to our bloodstream. It's actually glucose, and that glucose goes out to our bloodstream. Now, that glucose, also known as sugar, is what the cell uses for energy. So the cell needs that glucose. Now, you would think that, hey, the cell would just be able to gobble up the glucose, but that's not the case. The cell needs a key. See, it's locked. The cell is locked. It can't just take the glucose. The key is insulin. So your pancreas secretes a hormone called insulin. And one of the jobs of that hormone, it is very active. One of the jobs is to act as a gatekeeper or a key to the cell. It kind of unlocks the cell for the glucose to go in. Now, when the cell stops responding to the insulin, that is insulin resistance. And what happens next? We end up with elevated glucose in the bloodstream, elevated blood sugar, right? And what tells the pancreas to secrete insulin? Blood sugar. So the pancreas starts secreting more and more and more insulin. And so what ends up happening? We end up being more and more hyperglycemic, or elevated blood sugar, or elevated glucose, whatever you want to call it. And at the same time, we end up being more and more and more hyperinsulinemic, or elevated insulin. Notification from IG, FB, and X just now, not TikTok. Guys, TikTok doesn't seem to be pushing out my notifications. I'm not sure why it's not notifying my followers when I go live. So if you are on TikTok, do me a favor and notify everybody for me for TikTok. more than that, if you think that this is valuable information, if you think that this is information that should be shared rather than suppressed, then do me a favor and tap the like screen. With TikTok not sharing this with my followers, I have 45,000 followers on TikTok, and TikTok is not notifying them when I go live. That's very interesting. It's being suppressed. So if you don't like that, if you think that TikTok should share this message, then do me a favor and tell them that by tapping this like screen. Just tap it over and over and over again. Our personal record was somewhere around 100,000 likes during a live stream. Can you get me there? It's early. We've got about 30 some people on TikTok alone. If everybody was to get a couple, 3,000 likes in, which if you just tapped, that'll happen in 5-10 minutes. If you just tap, we'd get there. So, and let's just tell TikTok, hey, you should share this. Okay. So with that aside, let me get back on track. I've talked about what is insulin resistance, and what causes insulin resistance is hyperinsulinemia, that elevated insulin. See, we're bathing our cells in insulin, and that, thank you, Jesse. Thank you very much. That hyperinsulinemia, we're bathing our cells. That's what's causing the cells to stop responding. So if we want to reverse our insulin resistance, well, let's start by lowering the insulin in our bloodstream. Let's not be hyperinsulinemic. Now, this live stream, it's not just you. I don't know when Cindy is on either. Jojo, that's funny, right? This live stream is going to be talking about some insulin lowering strategies. How are we going to lower our insulin? And if we can do that enough, we can promote enough insulin sensitivity, then we can start to reverse enough insulin resistance that hopefully you'll just see those things like type 2 diabetes or pre-diabetes just kind of go away or become much more manageable. But let's talk about the goal of making them just go away. Okay. Dr. Jason Fung says it's a fully reversible disease. That's amazing. Think about that. Well, for more than 100 years, we've talked about it. Why don't we have a cure? Maybe there is a solution. Okay. So 3-step protocol. Now, throughout this, I oftentimes get asked about things like berberine or apple cider vinegar, stuff like that. I don't have a problem with berberine. I don't have a problem with apple cider vinegar at all. These are all natural. They've been proven to work. Yeah, absolutely. If you're doing those, if you're conditioned to do those, I have no problem with those at all. Keep doing them. Add them to this. It'll just help accelerate your benefits, okay? Or your process. Okay, so those are not my non-negotiables. I'm going to lay out 3 things that I consider non-negotiable. They have to happen every single day, or I consider the day a fail. Okay, so those 3 things, they start with, well, actually, you know what? Before I do that, the 3 things, I've been talking a lot about type 2 diabetes. A lot about type 2 diabetes and how it's caused by insulin resistance. But what I almost just blew right by this. What if you're not type 2 diabetic? Does this matter? Should you be listening to me, right? Well, what else does insulin resistance cause? And that really is what this image is behind me. So let me just set this up. Okay, the image behind me, I actually got from a guy named Dr. Ben Bikman. Okay, let me share this tab. Bear with me. I'm going to share a screen. Ben Bikman, share. Okay, here and here. Okay, Dr. Ben Bikman. So this is Dr. Ben Bikman's profile page on BYU, Brigham Young University. So Dr. Ben Bikman is a professor of cell biology and physiology at BYU. Dr. Ben Bikman understands cells, blood cells. That's what he studies, okay? Now, research interests. You'll notice the focus of my lab, the Laboratory of Obesity and Metabolism, is twofold. First, we aim to identify the molecular mechanisms that explain the increased risk of disease that accompanies weight gain. How many people are listening to me that maybe have a weight issue? Maybe you're a little bit overweight and you think that, hey, it's causing a lot of sickness within me. Well, that's what Dr. Bikman looks at with particular emphasis on the etiology of insulin resistance and disrupted mitochondrial function. Let's talk about insulin resistance. That is what Dr. Bickman looks at. You'll notice he is very well educated, multiple doctorates, um, memberships, professional citizenship. The number of courses he's taught is staggering. Look at how many courses he's taught. And then his publications. The guy's been published more than 30 times on the topic of insulin resistance. You'll see things like metabolic diseases, glucose intolerance, let's see, biomarkers of metabolism and glycemic control. That's what he does. Now, why am I spending so much time talking about Ben Bickman? Go over to Google and type in Dr. Ben Bickman insulin resistance, and you'll see about 191,000 results. Actually, let me refresh that. It might be more. 264,000. Good. I'm glad I refreshed it. 264,000 results. Now, Dr. Ben Bickman has a website called insuliniq.com. If you are sick, right? If you are sick, you should become a member of Insulin IQ. I have no affiliation with Dr. Bickman. I am a huge fanboy of Dr. Bickman, okay? It doesn't benefit me one way or the other whether you join this website, but I think you should. I'm a member of it. I tell everybody to become a member of it. Now, Insulin IQ, this is Dr. Ben Bickman, professor, author, researcher, and metabolic scientist. In fact, he's one of the world's leading metabolic scientists. He has a book called Why We Get Sick. This book right here, I swear by it, it will change your life. If you'd like to learn about why you're getting sick, this is a great place to start. It will open your mind. It's also available on audio file. Check it out on audio file. Okay, now, as I scroll down a little bit further, I will come across this image. That's the same image behind my head, right? So what I want to do is I want to go around this image and name off the different various things that are on it. Okay, and if I name off something that applies to you or somebody that you know, do me a favor and type the word me. Just type the word me. Blow this thing up a little bit. Type the word me if it applies to you or somebody that you know. And what we're going to do is that's two parts here. I'm trying to drive engagement. I love it when people engage with me during a live stream. The second thing I want to do is take the magnifying glass off of type 2 diabetes. Let's start thinking about type 2 diabetes as a symptom of a bigger problem rather than a chronic and progressive disease, right? What other symptoms are associated with that same problem? So as I name these off, we should start to see a number of people typing the word me because it applies to them. And what that's going to do is it's going to drive engagement, but it's also going to hopefully show somebody else who's too shy to type the word me that they're not alone. That's the most important thing. Throughout this live stream, know that you're not alone. Know that you're not hopeless and helpless. Know that there is opportunities to get healthy. Good morning, Maria. Good morning. How are you? Okay, starting from the top, stroke. Does the word stroke apply to you or somebody that you know? We've already got some people typing the word me in here, and I'll try and keep up with the me's, highlighting them. How about heart disease? Does heart disease apply to you or somebody that you know? How about obesity? 74% of Americans are either obese or overweight. That's a staggering number. What has changed? Why are so many of us overweight and type 2 diabetic? Okay. User 1574 says me. How about migraine headaches? You know, I was a kid. I suffered from migraine headaches. I had no idea what was causing it. I haven't had a migraine headache since I started addressing my insulin resistance. It's amazing. And the best feeling ever is not having a migraine headache. How about dementia? Now, I say if it applies to you or somebody that you know, I'm going to talk about dementia, and I doubt if anybody's listening to me that has dementia. So do you know anybody who suffers from dementia? How about osteoarthritis or childhood obesity? The largest percentage of the population that's becoming obese is our children. That's scary. Also, just a side note, it's estimated that there's going to be a 700% increase in childhood diabetes by the year 2060. 700%. Why? What is changing? That's what we're going to talk about. How about PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome, number one cause for infertility amongst women? Do you know any women who are infertile? How about PCOS that could be visually seen as some excessive hair growth, right? Some other things, irregular cycles. How about fatty liver disease? Does anybody listen to me have fatty liver disease? Cirrhosis of the liver is a top 10 cause of death. At the top of that list, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease caused by insulin resistance. How about arthritis? Anybody listening to me suffer from arthritis or Alzheimer's disease? Alzheimer's disease, oftentimes referred to as type 3 diabetes. Let's talk about insulin resistance of the mind. Isn't that scary? Insulin resistance of the brain, type 3 diabetes, Alzheimer's disease. Erectile dysfunction. There you go. Erectile dysfunction. How about sarcopenia or high blood pressure? How many people listening to me right now, you can't digest beef or pork, Lally? I think there's a lot more to be picked apart there. High blood pressure. How many people are listening to me that have high blood pressure? It seems like everybody has high blood pressure, right? Very, very early symptom of insulin resistance. And to this point, I'm just going to tack this onto here, right? How many people are taking lisinopril for their high blood pressure or their kidneys? Lisinopril. If you're on lisinopril, type I am. Just type I am. Interesting little place that I'm going here with this one, right? And then finally, how many people are type 2 diabetic? If you're listening to me and you are type 2 diabetic, or you know somebody that is type 2 diabetic, type me. Okay, so Brenda says that she is on lisinopril. Here's an interesting one, right? Did you know that lisinopril is derived from snake venom? Did you know that? Lisinopril is derived from snake venom. Snake venom is a poison, right? And if we understand that high blood pressure is caused by insulin resistance, it's a symptom of being sick, right? I'm going to ask the question. Do you think our plan is to take a sick body and poison it to good health? Is that what we're trying to do? Is poison unhealthy people to good health? So then to that point, let me ask the common question here, right? Metformin is the number one prescribed pharmaceutical drug for type 2 diabetes, right? Everybody, it's like part of your starter pack. A friend of mine, Ro, calls it the starter kit, right? Everybody gets metformin right out the gate. Are you type 2 diabetic because your body doesn't produce enough metformin? Do you have high cholesterol because your body doesn't produce enough Crestor and PCOS, right? Yes. Do you have PCOS because your body doesn't produce enough metformin? I took that for years, and just this year I stopped taking it, right? Are we sick because we aren't giving ourselves enough poison? Or are we sick for some other reason, right? Are we sick for something else? That's what we need to be focusing on, right? Do you have high blood pressure because you don't have enough Lipitor in your body? No, you have high blood pressure because something else is, or I'm sorry, you have high cholesterol because you don't have enough Lipitor in your body. No, you've got some other problem that's causing the high blood pressure. What is Lipitor doing? It's treating the symptom, right? It's if you have a symptom of a runny nose, how many medications are you going to throw at the runny nose, or are you going to treat the cold, right? That's what we're talking about. Root cause. The root cause for those is insulin resistance. As we're going through this, keep your eye on the target. The root cause is insulin resistance. Okay, let me get rid of this picture behind me and let's dive right into this. What did I do to reverse my type 2 diabetes? I started focusing on that root cause, insulin resistance, which is caused by hyperinsulinemia, elevated insulin. So this live stream will be talking about insulin lowering strategies, creating insulin sensitivity, promoting insulin sensitivity, reversing insulin resistance. Okay, so here we go. 3-step process, and a lot of people might want to take notes. That's weird for me to say that, but a lot of people might take notes. So if you do want to take notes and you want me to slow down, just say, hey, can you repeat that, Jim? Also, you might see Amanda in the comments. If you should see Amanda, that is my beautiful bride, my much better half. If she should answer any questions, they're on my behalf. She answers on my behalf, okay? Okay, so with that being said, step 1 of the protocol is intermittent fasting. For me personally, it is a 16 and 8 time-based eating schedule. So what does that mean? Out of a 24-hour day, I don't eat for 16 hours, and I do allow myself 2 meals in the remaining 8 hours. Now that seems skimpy, I'm sure. Everybody here's like, no. I have 14 meals per day. There's no way I can go down to just 2. Maybe that's part of the problem. What's up, Ro? How are you? Guys, if you're not giving Ro a follow, Ro Reverse a follow, you should be. Ro is talking about the exact same thing. Ro has reversed her type 2 diabetes. Her husband is has reversed his type 2 diabetes. And Ro is impacting a lot of people's lives right now. So if you're not giving Ro a follow, you should be over here on TikTok. Also, yeah, we'll leave it at that. Okay, so intermittent time-based eating schedule. And before you say, no, I have to have my 14 meals per day. That's what I've been told, right? In fact, when I first got diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, I went and saw my dietitian, and my dietitian, she told me that I needed to have a healthy breakfast, a healthy snack, a healthy lunch, and then a healthy snack, and then a healthy dinner. That healthy breakfast was 30 to 60 carbs. The healthy snack was up to 15 carbs. The healthy lunch was 30 to 60 carbs. The healthy snack, again, was up to 15 carbs. And the healthy dinner, 30 to 60 carbs. If you maxed every single one of those meals out, you'd be at 210 carbs per day. Now, I hate to be the bearer of bad news to you, but you have a problem with carbohydrate intolerance. If you are carbohydrate intolerant, why are you eating so many carbohydrates? That is a problem. What if we already do 16 and 8 days and still continue to be the same? Mary Jane, keep listening, okay? There are more things. This is a 3-step protocol. Step 1 is intermittent fasting. Potentially steps 2 and 3 are what put you over the top, okay? Keep listening. So, how many of us have a spare tire or some love handles or maybe just some excessive belly fat? We want to get rid of it. We're nearing May. We're getting ready to transition into summer. Kids are getting ready to get out of school, beaches, swim pools, right? We're going to get into a swimming suit. And how many of us are like, not quite yet? I've still got a little bit of jiggly I'm not happy with. How many of you have that? And I'm going to ask the question, why do we have the fat? Is it because we simply don't exercise enough? Is it because we're eating bad foods, right? So what is the fat? Why do we have it? That fat it's an alternative fuel source for us in times of famine. So let's go back hundreds of thousands of years, right? Mankind was a hunter-gatherer. They may have gone for a week without food. Now, if they were a week without food, is that a time for the body to start shutting down, or is that a time for the body to get sharp? It's hey, I need to be focusing on finding food. What does the body use during that time? It uses fat. And when we're eating and we've got too much, our body stores it away. See, our bodies are brilliant. Our bodies are brilliant. There it is. Cat Lady says, correct, man. Our bodies are brilliant, really. They know what they need to do, okay? What we're not doing is listening to them. Your body is storing things away for times of famine. But how often in today's society do we store things away? Or how often are we faced with famine? How often do we tap into that fuel source? There's a doctor, Mark Mattson. I love talking about him. He's a neuroscientist out of Johns Hopkins Medical University. Fascinating reads. If you can find him on social medias, give him a follow. Dr. Mark Mattson has been studying intermittent fasting for more than 25 years. And what Dr. Mark Mattson says is that somewhere around 12 to 14 hours of fasting, your body metabolically switches its fuel source from glucose over to fat. Now, if we switch our fuel source over to fat, why would our body switch over? Because it's out of glucose. We're not running on glucose. And what happens when our glucose is really, really low? Our insulin is really, really, really low. And so what are we really doing? We are turning towards this fat for fuel. You want to see the fat melt off? There you go. If you want to see your glucose and your insulin, remember this live stream is about insulin lowering strategies. Guess what? When you're burning fat, your insulin is low. You are promoting insulin sensitivity. You are, at that time, actively working to reverse your insulin resistance. It's crazy. All of these things start playing together. Why did they switch the... We'll come back to that one, Satrahan. Doesn't make any sense to me, sir. Can you explain? I will definitely go to a Q&A. Absolutely. Let me get through the 3 steps of this protocol first, and then we'll definitely, by the way, I'm a wide open book, guys. So at the end of this, ask me questions throughout this. I will answer them as I go. We are also fortunate. There's a lot of people in here who are doing the exact same thing and having amazing results. So you may see answers from them just the same. But at the end, I'm all open for questions that I miss. Right. So is anything wrong with 16 and 8 fasting? No, there's nothing wrong with 16 and 8 fasting. Okay. So who's heard of Joslin Diabetes Center? Has anybody heard of Joslin Diabetes Center? Joslin Diabetes Center. This is joslin.org. Joslin Diabetes Center. This is the history page of joslin.org. Joslin Diabetes Center has been improving the lives of diabetes patients since 1893, 131 years. Now, this is Dr. Elliot Joslin. Dr. Elliot Joslin graduated med school in the 1800s, and understand that when Dr. Elliot Joslin graduated, there was no need to specialize in diabetes. Diabetes was quite rare in the 1800s. Nothing like it is today. However, when he graduated med school, he would find out that both his mother and his aunt had diabetes. And for that reason, Dr. Joslin decided to specialize in diabetes. In fact, he was one of the first doctors to do so. Now, Dr. Joslin thought that the keys to controlling your diabetes were 2 things, really. Strict glucose control, which we absolutely know to be true, and intermittent fasting. In fact, Dr. Joslin would write of that in 1916, the treatment of diabetes mellitus in 1916, that temporary periods of undernutrition are helpful in the treatment of diabetes will probably be acknowledged by all after these 2 years of experience with fasting. Now, question, did we heed his advice? Did we listen to Dr. Elliot Joslin? Well, certainly we did when it comes to strict glucose control. We know that. If you're a diabetic, you know that the best way to control your diabetes is to watch your blood sugar. Strict glucose control, right? That's kind of a no-brainer. Well, he was talking about it 130 years ago. Guess what else he was talking about 130 years ago? Intermittent fasting. Did we listen to that part? No. In fact, just a few years after he'd write this, 1916, just a few years after this, we would discover insulin. Now, here's one for you. Eli Lilly. Anybody heard of that? Eli Lilly? The University of Toronto would discover insulin, and they would sell the patent for insulin to Eli Lilly for $1. $1, 1923. They would sell that for $1. The logic was that insulin belonged to the people, not to an institution. And they thought that Eli Lilly would have the better chance of mass producing it and getting it out to the people. $1. 2022, the global human insulin drug market was estimated to be $45 billion. bucks, $45 billion. It's estimated to surpass $84 billion by 2030. How about that? They went from a $1 investment that was supposed to benefit mankind to a $45 billion a year industry. I would say Eli Lilly made pretty good money on their $1 investment, right? Probably not what the University of Toronto wanted. So to that point, how many people are listening to me right now that are type 2 diabetics that are on insulin therapy? If you are a type 2 diabetic and you are what they have dubbed insulin dependent, or you are a type 2 diabetic and you are actively giving yourself insulin to control your diabetes, would you do me a favor and type the words "I am" in the comment section? If you are a type 2 diabetic who is giving themselves insulin, type "I am." I'm curious how many people are doing that. And the reason I bring this up is it probably is starting to not make sense. Like, hey, this guy is Rosie Girl. I am, right? Hey, this random dude on TikTok, on Facebook, on YouTube, he's saying like, hey, I'm hyperinsulinemic. Elevated insulin is causing my type 2 diabetes. Why am I giving myself more? Is that what question you're asking yourself yet, Rosie Girl? Or anybody listening to me right now? If you're on insulin therapy and you're type 2, I hope you're asking yourself that question. Don't listen to me. Let's talk about this guy right here, Dr. Ben Bikman, okay? And I want to steer you over to my TikTok page. This is my TikTok page, okay? You can find me on TikTok at The Real Jim BBQ or by searching The Healthy Pitmaster. Either one of those. In fact, you can find me on every social media platform doing just the same. And I see I've got a number of people right now that are watching from Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. If you're not giving me a follow on those pages, please do. But you'll notice that it's the exact same handles at The Real Jim BBQ and The Healthy Pitmaster. If you are watching me on one of those platforms, give me a follow on an alternative one so that we're always in touch, okay? But what I want to do is I want to scroll down and I want to talk about Dr. Ben Bikman. This guy that I just showed, professor of cell biology and physiology at BYU, a man who has dedicated his life to the study of insulin resistance. Now, this is Dr. Ben Bikman talking about the dangers of insulin therapy with type 2 diabetics. If you are giving yourself insulin right now, get your best ears on.
But regardless, because we have a glucose-centric view of the disease, essentially the clinician is saying, well, to heck with your insulin. Who cares if we push it up even higher? They might not even know where it is. All they know is if they push the insulin up even higher, the glucose will in fact come down. And because that's the target, the glucose, they believe they're achieving the optimal outcome. However, it's much more complicated and sinister than that. The more aggressively we're giving the type 2 diabetic insulin to control their glucose, the faster we kill them. They are 3 times more likely to die from heart disease and twice as likely to die from cancer and twice as likely to develop Alzheimer's disease. And throughout all of it, they need more and more and more insulin because they're becoming ever more resistant to it.
How interesting is that? Let's see, Rosie Girl, question for you. Can you validate what Dr. Ben Bikman just said? Are you in fact becoming more and more and more resistant to the insulin because you are taking it every single day? Has your insulin usage gone up or has it gone down since you started using it? Now, Yoli Hervik came in and asked, did we talk about skin tags yet, right? We are actually. Good morning, Mel. How are you? I guess good afternoon there. Worshipper number 1 says, yes, it's gone up. Rosie Girl, yes, it's going up. Are we validating what Dr. Ben Bikman is suggesting? You are, in fact, becoming more and more and more resistant to the insulin. Now, here's the deal. Yoli Hervik, what's happening to a type 2 diabetic who is giving themselves insulin is they're becoming more and more and more insulin resistant. Well, you don't have to be on insulin therapy to become insulin resistant. In fact, if you have things like skin tags or a darkening or discoloration of the skin around your neck or armpit areas, that's called acanthosis nigricans. Those are caused by insulin resistance. If you have those, there is a really good chance that you are insulin resistant. In fact, what is the odds that you are insulin resistant? Let's go here. Let's talk about this study right here. This one looks at the prevalence of optimal metabolic health in American adults. It's looking at the National Health and Nutrition Examination Survey of 2009 to 2016. This was, by the way, published in 2019, so it's not that old. And what they found were that 12.2% of the population was insulin sensitive or optimally metabolically healthy. 87.8% of us were not. 88% of us were not insulin sensitive. We were insulin resistant. 333 million Americans in the United States. That means about 296 million of us are insulin resistant. And if that is the case, well, now we start to understand why so many of us have so many of these problems. Isn't it crazy? It's absolutely crazy, isn't it? Okay. So with that being said, talked about what causes insulin resistance. We've talked about Dr. Elliot Joslin. Who's heard of Dr. Jason Fung? Dr. Jason Fung, if you've heard of him, type I have. Dr. Jason Fung, let's see, a doctor I saw wants me to start insulin. Mel? Here's the question, Mel. You ask your doctor, am I insulin resistant? Right? You're type 2 diabetic. Ask your doctor, am I insulin resistant? And if they say no, then you say, I think we have a problem here because I am. And if they say yes, you are insulin resistant, then your question is that caused by hyperinsulinemia, elevated insulin? And if they say no, then you have a problem, right? Like maybe you need to find another doctor. Or if they say yes, then you say, well, then why are you going to give me more insulin? Love Dr. Jason Fung, right? Dr. Jason Fung is a nephrologist out of Toronto, Canada. Dr. Jason Fung studies kidneys. Now, if you are a type 2 diabetic, you're probably noticing your doctor has a great interest in what's going on with your kidneys, right? Well, Dr. Jason Fung found that there was a relationship between poor kidney health and insulin resistance. He thought that if we could reverse that insulin resistance, it would benefit the kidneys. So what did Dr. Jason Fung do to address the insulin resistance? Dr. Jason Fung went to the work of Dr. Elliot Joslin. Remember that guy? This guy right here. This guy right here. Dr. Elliot Joslin. Dr. Jason Fung went to the work of this dude from more than 100 years ago. Strict glucose control, intermittent fasting. Now, intermittent fasting, it could be pretty drastic if you got into Dr. Fung's world. Like he might say, you know what, you don't get food for the next 5 days. He's going to hard reset your metabolic system. And when you come out of that, he might say, you know what, you get 10 carbs per day. That's the way that it's going to be. No more highly processed foods, no more seed oils, nothing like that. Pretty drastic, but very effective. So Dr. Jason Fung started having his patients practice intermittent fasting and a low-carb, high-fat diet for the strict glucose control. Low-carb, high-fat. What is that? That is keto. And it's probably the exact opposite of what we've been conditioned to do, right? If low-carb, high-fat is helping people reverse diabetes, what have we been taught to do? High-carb, low-fat. Think about it. 1980, we redefined the food pyramid, right? And we said you need between 6 and 11 servings of carbohydrates per day. And by the way, stop eating fatty foods. It's clogging your cholesterol, right? Or it's clogging your arteries. What the heck? Is it? Is it clogging? So, low carb, high fat, the exact opposite. How are you, DeQueen? How are you today? Is keto a good diet for insulin resistance? Dr. Jason Fung has helped thousands of people reverse type 2 diabetes and their insulin, more importantly, their insulin resistance through a strict low carb, high fat diet, AKA keto. Now, I like to talk about a couple of books that Dr. Fung has written. One of the books, well, the Diabetes Code, the Obesity Code, the Cancer Code. This book right here is one that I always, always, always recommend. Let me see here. I'm going to turn this off and we'll go like this. Life in the Fasting Lane by Dr. Jason Fung. Now, this is an interesting book because one of the co-authors in the book not only had type 2 diabetes, but she had PCOS. And because she had PCOS, she was infertile. Her and her husband had given up on trying to have children. They were infertile. They adopted children. She starts listening to Dr. Jason Fung, low carb, high fat diet, intermittent fasting. She not only reversed her type 2 diabetes, but she also reversed her PCOS and then had children with her husband naturally. She reversed her infertility, all through intermittent fasting and a low carb, high fat diet. Now, to that point, I am not keto. I always want to be clear. I am not actively practicing a strict keto diet. I am not. I have keto meals. Yesterday for lunch, I had eggs, bacon, and an avocado. That's a pretty keto meal. But 2 nights ago, I had pizza for dinner. I don't have pizza very often. I treat myself. I don't eat junk pizza. When I'm going to have pizza, I don't eat trash pizza. About every 5 or 6 weeks, I will treat myself to some good pizza. And I don't think twice about it. I'm allowed treats. Okay. So for that reason, I am not strict keto. I'm not carnivore. I'm not vegetarian. I'm not vegan. If you are keto, if you are carnivore, and you apply those to this strategy, this insulin lowering strategy, it's only going to accelerate your process. Okay. So let's see. Carolyn Lar, my husband has both skin tags and the darkening skin. Doctor said pre-diabetic. Thanks for all the info. Carol, that's awesome. So you're getting some validation to the things that I'm talking about. The pre-diabetes is caused by insulin resistance, that your husband is insulin resistant. He has a problem, okay? And right now, who cares about a skin tag? Maybe the darkening or discoloration is called acanthosis nigricans. And you know what? Not a big deal, right? Hey, in fact, not a big deal. I got about 20 pounds I could lose. Not a big deal, right? Or you get diagnosed type 2 diabetic and you just start popping metformin and you know what? Hey, I can still eat some pretty normal foods. Not a big deal, right? And then we end up, next thing you know, you're in this trap of taking 30 different medications, right? And your health is rapidly declining. You feel like you've lost control, right? The wheels are falling off. You're out of control. And then guess what? We become more susceptible to type 3 diabetes. Anybody familiar with type 3 diabetes? Can anybody tell me what type 3 diabetes is? I think I missed what you said about skin tags. You have not, Hallmark Lover. Great tag name, by the way. Type 3 diabetes is Alzheimer's, guys. Maybe you don't care about the added pounds. Maybe you don't care about the skin tags. Maybe you don't even care about the type 2 diabetes. But I have yet to find anybody who's not terrified of type 3 diabetes, dementia, Alzheimer's. So get control of it now before you're there. Okay. So step 1 of the protocol is intermittent fasting. I do always talk about life in the fasting lane. I also want to throw out there, if you are a woman, your cycle, your monthly cycle, if you will, changes things. Changes your hormone levels, and your intermittent fasting schedule could be slightly modified from mine. I'm a dude. We have pretty simple hormones, man. So there is a Dr. Mindy Pelz, P-E-L-Z, Dr. Mindy Pelz. Dr. Mindy Pelz wrote a book called Fast Like a Girl. Check out that book. If you're a woman and you're looking to dive into the intermittent fasting thing, that's a great book. In fact, both of these books, Life in the Fasting Lane, Fast Like a Girl, they're wonderful books. Also, there are a number of books that I recommend. The first of which is Why We Get Sick. That book is phenomenal. It will absolutely open your mind and change the way that you see the world today, okay? This book, then I recommend Life in the Fasting Lane, then I recommend Dr. Mindy Pell's, and I recommend a number of other books. If you're ever curious about the books that I do recommend, they're all available on audio file. I have a link in my bio. It's an affiliate link. Don't feel pressured to use my affiliate link, but if you're looking for a quick one-stop location for the books that I recommend, there's a link in my bio on every social media platform. It says educational books. Click that and it will have the books in the order, no less, of the way, the order which I recommend you read them, okay? So with that being said, Ro, Fast Like a Girl by Mindy Pels. Thank you, Ro. How do I get rid of the skin tags? You reverse your insulin resistance. Thank you, Ro. Okay, so folks, are we ready to move on to step 2 of the protocol? Step 1 of the protocol is intermittent fasting. For me personally, it's a 16 and 8 time-based eating schedule. So out of a 24-hour day, I don't eat for 16, and I allow myself 2 meals in the remaining 8 hours, no snacks. I don't count. I want to emphasize, I did not say this earlier. I don't count calories. I don't look at portion sizes. I eat until I'm full, and I try and eat some really nutritious foods, things that will help me stay full until my next meal. Okay. Are there any questions about this, or are we ready for step 2? If you are ready, do me a favor and type the word ready, or feel free to ask questions. I'm all about, I'm an open book, open book. I'm going to take a quick drink while I'm waiting for either a question or a ready. And by the way, welcome to our listeners on Twitter, Twitch, Facebook, YouTube. Welcome here, guys, as well as TikTok, of course. Okay, Carolyn Lara says ready. Shannon, ready. Okay, here we go. We're diving right into step 2. Step 2 of the protocol is, thank you, Mel. I try. Thank you, Mel. I appreciate that. Step 2 of the protocol is consuming more chlorogenic acid. Now, what is chlorogenic acid? Chlorogenic acid is a naturally occurring polyphenol. It's one of the most abundant polyphenols on Earth. Now, what is a polyphenol? We find polyphenols in certain foods, certain vegetables, certain fruits, nuts, seeds, coffee, green tea, black tea. Maybe you've heard of yerba mate tea. I'm going to talk about yerba mate tea here in a moment. In nature, chlorogenic acid is most abundant in a green coffee bean. Green coffee bean. Now that, if you're unfamiliar with a green coffee bean, that's an unroasted one. That's right after they harvest it. That's what they would consider green, right? And then they go and roast it, and then that's what we make our coffee out of. So in nature, it is most abundant in a green coffee bean. And so a lot of research around chlorogenic acid revolves around coffee consumption. Matcha, yeah, absolutely. I love matcha. I drink matcha a few times a week. I was fortunate enough to have matcha in Tokyo. That's an amazing experience. Okay, so, but yeah, matcha is a wonderful example, right? Teas. So how many people are listening to me right now that are on, say, metformin? If you're on metformin, type I am. And would you be interested to know that chlorogenic acid acts in a similar way to metformin? Would you be interested in that? Yes or no? How many of you are on a blood pressure lowering strategy with maybe medications like lisinopril or losartan? Would you be interested to know that chlorogenic acid acts in a similar way to that? What's up, Keith? How are you, brother? This is my guy, Keith. Keith, talking about blood pressure. You came in at the right time. Keith has lowered his blood pressure. He came off blood pressure medications. He was on blood pressure medications for 47 years and came off of blood pressure medications doing this exact protocol in a matter of months. It's amazing. So would you be interested to know that chlorogenic acid acts in a similar way to those blood pressure lowering medications? What about, how many of you are on Ozempic or Mounjaro or Wegovy or Rybelsus or Saxenda or Trulicity? What did I miss? Zepbound. How many of you are on one of those? And would you be interested in knowing that chlorogenic acid acts in a similar way to those? Would you be interested in knowing that chlorogenic acid acts in a similar way to those? Yes or no? There's the big one, right? Everybody's talking about Ozempic and Mounjaro right now. What if there was an all-natural plant-based solution to the same thing, right? Worship, yes. A lot of people, I'm not highlighting the comments enough. Worship says yes. Hallmark Lover, I'm on high blood pressure medications. Mary Jane, I don't take medications, don't like them, but I'm interested in all natural. This is the place to be. Okay, guys, let's start with some proof. I love showing some proof. Let's see. Where am I at? Here we go. Let's just start here. This here, go to Google and ask Google what foods have chlorogenic acid. Google will tell you, in addition to coffee, fruits, and vegetables, as well as Chinese herbal medicines, are also a wide range of sources of chlorogenic acid. Chlorogenic acid, you'll find it in an apple, okay? Prunes. It's amazing. It's in everything. It is most abundant in nature in coffee. So for that reason, you're going to hear me talking a lot about coffee, but you can also get it in things like apples and prunes, peaches. Okay, so this study right here, the effects of chlorogenic acid on blood pressure. If you have high blood pressure, this is the one for you. This is a systematic review and meta-analysis of randomized clinical trials. In addition to the, let's see, dang it. My highlighter isn't working. There we go. In conclusion, the evidence from published randomized clinical trials suggests that chlorogenic acid intake causes statistically significant reductions in systolic and diastolic blood pressure. There is your proof that chlorogenic acid helps lower blood pressure. Now, I'm going to pick on Keith, my guy here again, that just joined the live stream a moment ago. Keith was able to come off of his blood pressure medication in just a couple of months. 47 years he was on it. It took him a couple of months with this insulin lowering strategy. So it's amazingly effective and amazingly quick. Now, this right here, chlorogenic acid improves glucose tolerance, lipid metabolism, inflammation, and microbiota composition in diabetic mice. How many of you, this is something I rarely talk about, but how many of you have an inflammation problem? So many people would say that they have an inflammation problem, right? Normally when I'm talking about this particular research paper, I'm talking about diabetes and chlorogenic acid, but boy, it seems like everybody has a problem with inflammation, right? Well, chlorogenic acid helps that as well. Let's scroll down to the results. The results showed that chlorogenic acid decreased body weight and improved glucose tolerance and insulin resistance, and these effects were similar to those of metformin. Similar to metformin. I told you there is studies that show that it acts in a similar way to metformin. Here is one of them. Here is another one. This study right here. I found this on PubMed Central. By the way, all of these can be found on nih.gov, PubMed. This one's PubMed Central. Roles of chlorogenic acid on regulating glucose and lipids metabolism. This is a review. And you will find, for example, it is reported that daily consumption of 3 to 4 cups of decaffeinated coffee containing high contents of chlorogenic acid significantly reduced the risk for type 2 diabetes by 30%. Chlorogenic acid is a novel insulin sensitizer that potentiates insulin action similar to the therapeutic action of metformin. That's massive. Right there, that is absolutely massive, right? Similar to the therapeutic action of metformin. 3 to 4 cups of coffee per day reduces your risk of type 2 diabetes by 30%. How many of you guys are on a GLP-1 receptor agonist? That would be Ozempic. That would be Wegovy, Mounjaro, Zepbound, something of the likes. Crystal says, ooh, I love coffee. Keith, sorry, I was on another page, so I wasn't able to see the comments. I'm getting caught up on the comments. I'm 66 years old, feel better now than I did at 30, walk and hike 4 to 6 miles a day. Brother, I love that. You know that I love that. 47 years on blood pressure meds, came off them in just 70 days. Think of the magnitude of that. Keith is sitting here telling you 47 years off of them in 70 days. Also 13 years type 2 meds, insulin as well, off of them. He's off of his medications. I want to throw a little bit of love Keith's way. If you're seeing that comment and you think that's super cool, then type wow Keith. Just wow Keith. Let's see if we can get Keith some love here. That's incredible, right? Let's see. What are they taking? I want to talk about, let's see. I hate seeing ads about them. Let's see. Good day. It's so frustrating. I'm missing something. Mel. TV shows in Australia are not telling the whole story about Ozempic, right? That's a fact. Okay, how many people are listening to me right now that are on? Oh, there's a lot of wow Keiths. I love this. Kim says, wow, Keith. I want to go through. There's a lot of people that are watching us on some other major social media platforms, and they can't see the TikTok comments. So I'm sharing these for the people that are following on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch. Hallmark says, wow, Keith. Roe, wow, Keith. Carolyn, wow, Keith. Worship, wow, Keith. Helena, I love this, guys. Brenda, guys, it's amazing, right? I want to illustrate, this is an amazing community of people who all are like-minded. They want to see you get healthy. Once you're in this and you start to see like, hey, man, there is something happening here. I want to tell somebody else about it, right? It's an amazing community. Welcome to this community. Thanks, everyone. Okay. How many people, I'm going to ask the question again. I kept on getting distracted. How many people are listening to me that are on Ozempic or Mounjaro or Zepbound, something like that? If you're on one of those, would you be so kind as to type I am? Now, the reason I bring that up is the image that's above me right now is Dr. Andrew Huberman. And you'll notice this is from Stanford Medicine. Stanford Medicine. This is literally, the address is med.stanford.edu. This is their website. This is Dr. Andrew Huberman's profile on their website. He is an associate professor of neurobiology and, by courtesy of, psychiatry and behavioral sciences. This guy is brilliant, okay? I want to scroll down to his professional education. He received his bachelor's from the University of California, Santa Barbara, his master's from the University of California, Berkeley, his PhD from the University of Cal Davis, and his postdoc work came from Stanford University. I think when he talks, we can say, yeah, this is an educated opinion, right? This is Dr. Andrew Huberman a while back talking about yerba mate, and how it can act in a similar way to your Ozempic. Okay? Interesting. Bear with me a sec here.
America was looking at Gila monsters, those really scary things, and he realized they don't have to eat very often. I wonder if they're hungry all the time or not. Turns out it takes their blood, isolates a peptide, which turns out to be GLP-1, puts it into other animals, and realizes it suppresses appetite. Amazing, right? Like this is what I love about biology. Some dude who studies Gila monsters. Turns out humans make GLP-1. GLP-1 is stimulated by things like yerba mate tea. Certain other compounds, plant compounds, stimulate its release. But what does it do in the hypothalamus? It suppresses hunger by way of, there's a particular brain arcuate pathway, blah, blah, blah. But it also affects the mechanosensors of the gut so that you feel like your gut's full. Like it's almost like you're getting like a pharmacologic tummy, stapled stomach, right? So when people take a drug that mimics GLP-1, their brain is like, well, I'm not as hungry, and their stomach feels full even though it's empty. The guy down in...
How interesting is that? Does anybody find that to be interesting? Yerba mate tea. let's talk about yerba mate tea real quick, okay? The very tea that he was just describing. So yerba mate tea, by the way, if you think that's interesting, type interesting. Just type that. Let's stay engaged. Yerba mate tea has been pretty widely consumed in South America for the last 500 to 1,000 years. Yerba mate tea, the yerba leaf specifically, is really only grown in the regions of South America that are now Argentina, Brazil, and Paraguay. Now, the indigenous people of those regions would go and harvest that leaf. They would fire roast it. They would break it up and add it to hot water and steep it. And then they would sip on it all day long. Now, yerba mate tea is still widely consumed. In fact, I believe it is the most widely consumed drink in South America. Yerba mate. Mary Jane, that came from Dr. Andrew Huberman, what is his actual? He is a neurobiologist. Brilliant man. Okay, now what they found was that the indigenous people, they refer to yerba mate as the drink of the gods. It would give them an amazing boost of energy. It would suppress their appetites. What was it about yerba mate? Well, it was the chlorogenic acid. Okay, so yerba mate tea, there is a very interesting solution, all natural, plant-based, no side effects, right? Interesting, and was true for me when I was on Ozempic, right? Worship says interesting. Okay, guys, I want to play another video here. Bear with me a moment. Here.
Okay, a lot of people are into these Ozempic and weight loss drugs. If you're on or considering them, you might want to watch this. I don't know if you follow Dr. Andrew Huberman, but he was just on Joe Rogan, and he was basically, why take Ozempic when you can do the same thing naturally with no side effects using yerba mate?
Turns out humans make GLP-1. GLP-1 is stimulated by things like yerba mate tea. Certain other compounds, plant compounds, stimulate its release. But what does it do in the hypothalamus? It suppresses hunger.
This is the highest, most concentrated version of yerba mate I've found on the planet. And one of the top scientists in the world when it comes to insulin resistance did a study on this yerba mate.
That I'll be sharing at a meeting in March in Las Vegas is that this yerba mate supplement called Unimate also increases GLP-1. We found in this experiment we did, the GLP-1 levels went up by about 70% in a fasted state, which is
70% in a fasted state. And I would like to point out that that was this guy right here saying that. The world's leading metabolic scientist was talking about this particular tea. It's a yerba mate extract, increasing your GLP-1 production by up to 70% during a fasted state. That is amazing. A freaking supplement tea. In addition to that, the same guy, Dr. Bickman, bear with me, let me look for one other one. This study right here. Dr. Bickman published this research paper last October of 2023. Yerba mate supplement exerts beneficial tissue-specific effects on mitochondrial efficiency and redox status in healthy adult mice. Now, this, again, was done by Dr. Ben Bickman. If you'd like to research this, if you'd like to read this paper, there it is, PubMed ID 37892529. Now, what we've got is a supplement that Dr. Bickman, again, the world's leading metabolic scientist, is saying is amazing. It increases your GLP-1 production by up to 70%. It increases your ketone production by up to 80 times faster than not using it. It suppresses appetite. When you're drinking this, and I do drink this every day, you don't even think about food. Gives you an amazing boost of energy. Forces the fat. I mean, GLP-1 forces the fat cell to shrink, so it does that. It aids in weight loss. I mean, so many different things. Helps lower your blood pressure. In fact, chlorogenic acid, this particular tea has 10 times the chlorogenic acid of a typical cup of coffee, 20 times the chlorogenic acid of a typical cup of yerba mate. So with that being said, let's see, where can I get that tea? Mary Jane, bear with me a second here. Veronica just jumped in. What tea is it? Rose says, how many teas can you drink in a day? I am wrapping up my first one right now, but I've got a combination of 2 more right there. So yesterday, I think I had 4. I drink it all day long. I prefer the way that I feel off of it. So I drink it all day long. You'll literally see me drinking it all day long, but great question. So many benefits, right, Mary Jane? Okay, so the question, Mary Jane, was where do we get the product? Here's the deal. I don't give the product away until I'm done with the 3 steps of the protocol. After that, and that's oftentimes because when I give away the name, people jump out and they go and Google it. They find out it's exactly what I said that it was. And then they miss step 3, which we're getting ready to start right now. There's only 3 steps, so we're almost done. So if to anybody who's listening right now, if you are interested in those products, then stick around. At the end of the step 3, we'll talk about where to get them. Also, to the people who aren't interested in supplementation, I'm doing this in part to respect you so that you don't feel like you're watching a commercial, okay? So is that fair to everybody here? By the way, step 1 takes the longest to describe. Step 2 goes a little quicker, and step 3 goes the quickest. I want to ask a question. Here we go. If you are ready for step 3, type ready. If you have questions about step 2, ask your question here. I have stopped taking my meds, including Manjaro, and my numbers are still in the 300s. Worship, this may be something you want to look into, okay? But bear with me. By the way, also that tea costs about $1.75. It's not very expensive at all. About $1.75. Okay, here we go. A lot of people saying ready. Andrea is saying ready. Hallmark, ready. Mary Jane, ready. Okay, guys. Keith, ready. Okay, so as I tee up step 3, I want to ask, how many of you all are on a statin medication? That's a cholesterol-lowering medication. Lipitor, Crestor, Zocor, atorvastatin, rosuvastatin is what I was on, simvastatin, pravastatin, fluvastatin, something like that. Porous, yep, that's me. I'm on one of those, right? In fact, there are studies right now that show about 92 million people in the United States are on a statin, right? And it's, what are we taking statins for? To reduce heart disease. Number 1 killer in the United States, heart disease, right? Step 3, let's see, but I don't take it because of the side effects. Andrea, step 3 is going to be very interesting to you, okay? Did you tell your doctor what you're taking? Yes, I have, Satrahan. Absolutely, I have. Okay, so step 3 in the protocol is increasing our fiber. Fiber. Good morning, Mickey. Mickey from the X. And I see, wait a minute, I see your comment. I can see a comment from Twitter. Yes. I didn't know I could do that. That's coming over from Twitter. Awesome, awesome, awesome. That is super, super cool. Okay. Hi, Mickey. That just made my day. I can see the comments from Twitter. Anybody else listening on Twitter, comment away. That's pretty exciting. Okay. Okay, so step 3, increasing our fiber. Now, 93% of Americans don't get the recommended daily intake of fiber. That's 95% of men, 91% of women don't get the recommended daily intake of fiber in the United States. That's an amazing number. More than 9 out of 10 of us don't meet our recommended daily requirements. Now, why? Why does this step matter? Well, fiber helps our bodies naturally regulate its glucose levels. And I'm going to get into that, okay? But if we can naturally regulate our glucose levels, then guess what? We can naturally regulate our insulin levels. And if we can regulate our insulin levels, remember our insulin is causing all of these problems, right? Insulin resistance is what's causing all of those problems. If we can control our insulin, Guess what else we can control? All of those problems, okay? Including heart disease, right there. Dr. Ben Bickman, insulin resistance is a leading cause to heart disease, right? So it's a in his words, it's a greater predictor for heart disease than LDL cholesterol. So if we can control our insulin, then naturally we can lower our risk for heart disease, right? Yes, I see that. I see that. I love that, Mickey. Okay. Mickey says, it says there are 7 watching. I love that. Okay. So, a diet adequate in fiber drastically reduces your risk for heart disease, stroke, and type 2 diabetes. And it does that because it helps your body naturally regulate its glucose and then, of course, naturally regulate our insulin. So, how does it do this? How does fiber do this? There are 2 categories of fiber. There is a soluble fiber and there is an insoluble fiber. Now, my favorite example of insoluble fiber right now is quinoa. Maybe you've heard of quinoa, Quinoa, quinoa. Quinoa does not dissolve in water. It's a whole grain that we will boil to tenderness. I like to add a little bit of chicken stock to mine. I'll add some seasonings to it to kind of liven it up a little bit. When I'm serving it, I'll throw a little pat of butter in there because that's just delicious. And it kind of looks like a black-eyed pea, like it's brown in color with a little black spot. Quinoa. Anyway, when you consume quinoa, that's what it looks like. And when you poop it out, it looks just exactly the same. It doesn't dissolve in water. What does quinoa do through our body? It goes through your body like a roto-rooter. It gets rid of all of the things that we don't want, the things that we're not going to consume, the things that we're not going to use. It kind of scrubs out the innards and gets them out, and we poop them out. Also, if you have like a loose stool, if you struggle with loose stool, insoluble fiber helps kind of firm that up a little bit. It kind of brings it together, if you will. So if you're having a problem with loose stool, that's a great solution. Now, soluble fiber does dissolve in water. Soluble fiber kind of forms this thick, sticky, gooey, fibrous matrix, right? And it coats your gut tract and it slows down your body's ability to process the carbohydrates. Now, what does that really look like? Let's pick on a slice of white bread. White bread is a 100 in the glycemic index. Maybe you haven't heard of the glycemic index. I'll go into detail there in just a moment. But the glycemic index is a method of measuring how quick a food will affect your blood sugar. How high, how fast. Well, it's on a scale of 0 to 100. White bread is a 100. It will spike your blood sugar high and fast. Now, why does it do that? There is no fiber. Your body, when you eat that slice of bread, your body converts it to sugar fast. Okay, there's nothing standing in its way. And what happens when we spike our glucose? We spike our insulin, and we don't want to do that. Remember, that's not ideal. We don't want to do that. Now, if we have the appropriate amount of fiber in our body, it slows down our body's ability to process the carbohydrate. And when we do that, we get a slower, more gradual climb in the glucose. And what does that do to our insulin? It's slow, gradual climb. That is key. We're keeping our insulin levels down. We're suppressing our insulin. Remember, this entire conversation is based around insulin lowering strategies. That's key, right? So we're lowering that insulin. That's promoting insulin sensitivity. That is reversing our insulin resistance. And if we can do enough of that, we start to see the benefit in things like our type 2 diabetes, either going away or becoming much more manageable, weight loss, all sorts of things, PCOS, all sorts of things get benefited because we're controlling our glucose and ultimately controlling our insulin. And again, I want to point out, fiber is all natural, right? That's plant-based type of stuff. Okay, now, why aren't we getting the appropriate amount of fiber? Quiz question. That's my question out here right now. I'm asking for a little bit of engagement. We've got about 50 people watching on TikTok. We've got quite a few people on Twitter, Twitch, Facebook. Why aren't we getting enough fiber in our daily lives? The quiz question, just throw out what you think the answer is. Keith says, fix insulin resistance. You fix most of your body's illnesses. That's amazing, right? Anybody want to throw out an answer? It got quiet. Tanya, stripped from food. Our diets. I love this. Let's talk about, I want to go to Tanya's stripped from foods. Why would we take it from food? That doesn't make any sense. Why would you take something that was good from food? Fiber is very satiated. There it is, Mary Jane. Processed foods. We are consuming entirely too many processed foods. Now, let's talk, and money. Hey, Chris, how are you? Yes, processed foods and money, the root of all evil, right? We're talking about root cause. Let's talk about the root of all evil. Money, right? It's a business decision. If you are in the business of selling food, that's what you do. You make and then sell food. Do you want your clientele full all day long? Well, the answer is no. If they're full, they're not going to buy as much of your stuff. If they're hungry, they're going to come back quicker and they're going to buy more. Take the fiber out. It's very satiating. What about spoiling? Let's talk about just simple business, right? What if you bought something to sell it, right? You buy and sell goods, right? You buy something and in a few days you have to throw it away. It doesn't get bought. You bought it to sell it, but then it goes bad, right? Is that a good business? That's a horrible business decision, right? Just taking your money and being like, nope, I don't want that, throw it away. Flushing your money down the trash. Fiber spoils. The national average right now for fiber consumption in the United States is somewhere around 14 to 15 grams per day. Somewhere around there, give or take, right? But 14 to 15 grams per day. Do you know how much that looks like in a piece of food? That's one medium avocado. One medium avocado, about 14 grams of fiber. That's how much we are getting as a society right now in the United States. Now, what is the shelf life of an avocado? A week? I mean, honestly, what is the shelf life of an? They go from like you can't get the pit out of them to black on the inside in like a week, right? Like they can turn so fast. Now, if you are in the business of buying and selling foods, do you want to invest all of your money into something that spoils that fast? Or do you want to invest your money into like macaroni and cheese that you can put on the shelf that'll last for 3 years, right? Or a Twinkie. What's the shelf life of a Twinkie? About a half-life? They want us hungry. The food, because the food, we don't have any fibers, right? Let's see. Mary Jane, food industries make our food addictive for more consumption, right? That is a great comment, Mary Jane. Mickey says from Twitter, keep us sick. I want to build on this, okay? The food industry makes our food addictive. Is sugar addicting? Is sugar, can we agree that sugar is addicting? Yes, I would think, yes, we could agree that sugar is addicting. Well, look at the way that sugar comes in nature. Okay, sugar comes, if you look at sugar itself, the raw sugar cane comes wrapped in fiber. What do? We strip the fiber, we give you the sugar. With wheat, what do? We strip the fiber, we give you white flour. Apple juice. What is apple juice? It's sugar water. How does it come in nature? Wrapped in pectin fiber. We strip the fiber, we give you the sugar. So Mary Jane, you might have just nailed the head on. I mean, this makes perfect sense, right? Get rid of the stuff that they need, give them just the addiction and see them get hooked, right? Anybody a Metallica fan? I grew up loving Metallica. They had a song called Master of Puppets. Maybe you guys have heard of Master of Puppets. It's all about addiction, right? Listen to the song knowing that it's about addiction. It might really change the way you see things, right? Like, oh, Master of Puppets. Who's controlling the strings? Who's controlling the strings? 8 times more addictive than nose candy. That is very interesting. Okay, so we know that highly processed foods are a bad thing to eat. And by the way, I've named off 3 different steps to my protocol. I bet you by now you've heard all 3 steps, right? avoid highly processed foods, drink tea over soda, stop eating so frequently. You've probably heard all of these steps. You're just not doing them and you're getting sick, right? There's no big secret. Eat better. This is a food-based disease. You ate your way into it. You can eat your way right back out of it, okay? That's the biggest takeaway from this. If you feel like it's hopeless or helpless, it's not. You just have to eat your way back out of it. And it may take a little bit longer depending on how long you've been sick, but it's doable. How wonderful is that? Let me ask you, having heard what I just said, does that give you hope? Yes or no? Knowing that you can eat your way back out of the disease that you ate your way into. Does that give you hope? Yes or no? Now, where are some great sources of fiber in the grocery store? The produce section. Fruits, vegetables, Mary Jane, right? It's not hopeless. There's tons of hope. There's tons of help. You are surrounded right now by a boatload of people who are very like-minded. They want to see you get healthy just as they are getting healthy themselves. Wash your fruits and veggies with white vinegar, baking soda, water. That's a great tip there. Okay. Yes, that gives me hope. Thanks for the great info. So Hallmark Lover, here we go. Mickey says yes from over on Twitter. Have you talked about skin tags? I have. Keep listening here. So go over to the fruit section and get a wide variety of fruit. I'm going to say we're going to minimize the skin off tropical fruit. So we're going to minimize the things like bananas, oranges, and that sort of thing, right? What happens to your blood sugar when you have those? They probably spike, right? But we're going to enjoy fruits where we can consume the skins, things like apples, strawberries, blueberries, blackberries. We're going to enjoy those fruits, okay? There's a lot of polyphenols, chlorogenic acid. There's a lot of fiber when we can consume the skin. So skin on, less sweet, and non-tropical. We're going to avoid the tropical fruits, okay? And so that would allow us to eat the skin off avocados. We want to eat avocados, have 3 avocados a day. Enjoy avocados. They are wonderful. Go over to the vegetable section and get a wide variety of vegetables. Get a wide variety of the leafy ones. Get a wide variety of the cruciferous ones. Cruciferous is broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, that sort of thing. Get a wide variety of those. In the vegetable section, we're going to stick to above ground. Listen closely. We're going to stick to above ground, less starchy. Okay? That means we're going to minimize potatoes. Potatoes are below ground starchy. We're going to minimize those, okay? Start cutting those out of your diets. And I know that everybody loves their potatoes. I did too. Want potato for breakfast, lunch, dinner. They are causing a problem. There is virtually no fiber in a cooked potato. They are high in the glycemic index. They are causing your blood sugar to spike high and fast. What happens to your insulin when you do that? And how many of you guys have a bit of a thing with potatoes, right? How many people right now are listening to me that love their potatoes? Just say me. And while I'm waiting for that, I'm going to address Kimoni. Kimoni is coming in. I've got a video that's going somewhat viral. It talks about skin tags and darkening or discoloration of the skin. Kimoni, it's caused by insulin resistance. If you want those to go away naturally, reverse your insulin resistance. They will go away. This entire live stream is based on or is targeted at reversing your insulin resistance. Brenda says me. Maria says me. We got a potato problem, right? And user 3440 says me with the cry face emoji, right? Tammy, me, right? All potatoes. Yeah. Yeah, all potatoes. Minimize them. I'm not saying delete, right? So I used to have hash brown potatoes for breakfast. I would have French fries at lunch. I would have tater tots or mashed potatoes or baked potato at dinner. I literally had them 3 times a day. Little heavy-handed there. Now I have potatoes every couple of weeks, right? When I have a steak dinner, I feel like those two go hand in hand. I have to have them together. So I have them as a treat every now and then. I love this. I switched to sweet potatoes. That seems like a great solution, right? How many people and Satrohan, bear with me here. How many people, I'm assuming Sweet Cakes agrees, how many people perceive the sweet potato as being the healthy solution? I know Sweet Cakes probably thinks that it's the healthy solution. Worship, I really like the purple potato. Minimize them all. How many of you are listening to me right now that think that the sweet potato is the healthier alternative? And Tanya knows where this is going. I get asked about sweet potatoes every single live stream. Who knows anything about the glycemic index? Has anybody heard of the glycemic index? Let's see here. Let's go here. Glycemic index. Nutrition. This is from the Mayo Clinic. Okay. The Mayo Clinic. This is a little write-up on the glycemic index. The glycemic index ranks food on a scale from 0 to 100. I just mentioned that with white bread, right? 0 to 100. The low end of the scale has foods that have little effect on blood sugar levels. The high end of the scale has foods with a big effect on blood sugar levels. Okay, so foods that are high are going to cause your glucose to spike higher and faster. What does that do to your insulin? It spikes your insulin higher and faster. Now, if you want to avoid that, you eat foods that don't do that, foods that are low. Okay, so this little write-up, it's really good. It talks about glycemic index, glycemic load. It actually gives you a numerical value because there is a numerical value associated with that. Tanya just pinned that numerical value in our TikTok comment feed. But if I scroll down a little bit, there's the glycemic loads. But this right here, what are some examples of foods that are high in the glycemic index? White rice, white bread, and potatoes. Okay, this is from the Mayo Clinic. White rice, white bread, and potatoes. How often, as a society, give me your best answer to answer this. One word, right? How often, maybe 2 words, 3 words, but quick answer. How often do we consume as a society white rice, white bread, or potatoes? Is that something we minimize, or is that something we have all the time? Right? And then low glycemic index foods would be things like green vegetables, most fruits, raw carrots, kidney beans, chickpeas, and lentils. I would argue that we are Hallmark every day, Mary Jane daily, right? What are we doing every single day? We're spiking our glucose. And when we spike our glucose, we're spiking our insulin every day. And we're keeping it spiked all day long. Why are we getting sicker? There's your answer. Stop doing that. If you don't like being sick, stop doing that. Okay. So glycemic index, it's important to know. Okay. I want to go over here to healthline.com. I Googled what is the glycemic index of a sweet potato, and this popped up. I like this article a lot. Real quick, to the people who do love your sweet potatoes, how often do you boil them? Let's just say yes or no. Do you boil them more often than not? Yes or no? Is that your method of preparation that you prefer? Yes or no? That's the better way to ask that. Is boiling them your favorite method of preparation? Yes or no? Lavonda says no. Angie says no. Ash says no. Angie says baked. Okay, love it, love it, love it, love it. So we understand now that we want to avoid foods that are high. We want to gravitate towards foods that are low. So let's scroll down here and let's look at here again. They tell us the glycemic index ranges, right? Low is 55 or less. High is 70 or above. Let's look at a boiled sweet potato. If you boil a sweet potato for 30 minutes, it has a glycemic index of 46. 46, that's low. If you want to enjoy a boiled sweet potato, that's not going to do anything to your glucose. That's wonderful. Low is wonderful, okay? But when you boil it for 8 minutes, it's a glycemic index of 61. That is medium. That's not awful, but it's not as good as boiling it for 30 minutes. So what we know is that the method of preparation can change the glycemic index of the food. Okay, and we want to stay in the low. We want to avoid foods that are medium, and we want to strongly avoid foods that are high. Foods that are high spike our glucose higher and faster. So just remember 70 and above is high. Want to avoid those. How many of you bake your sweet potatoes? Actually, let's say roast. How many of you roast your sweet potatoes? Let's go there first. Roasted sweet potato. Is that your method of preparation, your favorite method of preparation? Sweet potatoes that have been peeled and roasted have a glycemic index value of 82. 82. 82. That's high. Glycemic index of 82. That's going to spike your glucose. It's going to spike your insulin. There's the problem. How many of you bake your sweet potatoes? I saw somebody just said they bake theirs because that's the method, right? Baked sweet potato. When you bake it for 45 minutes, it has a glycemic index of 94. 94. I want to come back to this article from the Mayo Clinic. The glycemic index ranks food on a scale from 0 to 100. A baked sweet potato is 94. Now, how many people, well, I'm boiling for 30 minutes then, right? There we go. How many of us choose the fried sweet potatoes because they're the healthier option at the restaurant, right? Instead of getting regular French fries, those things are awful. Sweet potatoes are better for you. I'm going to get the fried sweet potatoes. Glycemic index of 76. That again is high. So, as somebody just said, start boiling them for 30 minutes. Boil them for 30 minutes. Okay. Now, interestingly enough, I'm going to use this as a direct segue. Did you know that the American Diabetes Association has a food program? They have recipes. Did you know that they have food recipes on the American Diabetes Association's website? By the way, I'm going to go ahead and while I'm waiting for some of those answer, baked and pressure cooked, Instapot, right, Angie? Let's see, Big Butterfly. Wow. That's some good information, right? Black Butterfly. So we got usually bake, right? Josh, well, I'm boiling for 30 minutes then. Did you guys know that the American Diabetes Association had you could download some cooking ideas? Check this out. This right here, it's the American Diabetes Association. It's diabetesfoodhub.org. And on there, since we're talking about sweet potatoes, I want to talk about this recipe that you can download directly from the American Diabetes website, the American Diabetes Association website. They want to teach you, by the way, they want to teach you how to manage your diabetes. I want to be very, very clear here. I'm talking about how I reversed my diabetes. Would you rather manage your type 2 diabetes or reverse your type 2 diabetes? Let me ask you that question. Just type manage or reverse for your answer. Would you rather manage your diabetes or reverse? Because the American Diabetes Association will teach you how to manage your type 2 diabetes. Now, why do I say that? Because here is a recipe on their website. Step number 1. Preheat the oven to 400 degrees, prick the skins, and bake for 60 minutes. Bake for 60 minutes. It's on their website. What you just learned, baked sweet potato is a 94 on the glycemic index. 94. How about that? Why would the American Diabetes Association be recommending baking your sweet potato, right? Did they not know? Did they not know about the glycemic index? Does the American Diabetes Association not know about the glycemic index? Check this one out. Again, from the American Diabetes Association's website. From their website. Marir Signando, and I'm sure I just butchered that pronunciation, but Marir Signando, orange cream drink. I'm not going to lie, that looks absolutely delicious to me. It has 17 carbs. It has 16 grams of total sugars. Does any diabetic need a drink that has 16 grams of sugars? And interestingly enough, Marir Signando, I wanted to go ahead and just look that up. So I went to Google and I said, Google, hey, translate Marir Signando to die dreaming. To die. That's on their website. To die dreaming. Get a recipe from the American Diabetes Association that quite literally translates to die dreaming. Mary Jane, they want us to stay sick so they can take your money. That is an interesting comment, Mary Jane. What would happen if we know that type 2 diabetes, pre-diabetes, if we know that they are completely reversible, what would happen to them? What would happen to the American Diabetes Association if 135 million people in the United States reversed their condition? 135, about 136 million. What would happen to the American Diabetes Association if 135 of 136 million people reversed their type 2 diabetes or their diabetes? They'll lose money. Is it just the American Diabetes Association? They'd be stressing, right? Is it just the American Diabetes Association, or do you think the American Heart Association plays in here as well? How about the American Heart? What happens to the American Heart Association if we take control of our diets and start reversing our insulin resistance? Remember, this image right here came from Dr. Ben Bikman's website. Dr. Ben Bikman, this website came from him. Notice up top, insulin resistance leads to heart disease. Right? That's a greater predictor for heart disease than LDL cholesterol. They would lose money. I believe it's everything at this point, right? Josh, they'd be stressing even more, right? So what if the American Heart Association put out some new guidelines, and I'm being what if the American Heart Association put out some new guidelines that maybe suggested we start giving statin medications to healthy people? Cholesterol lowering medications. What if the American Heart Association started recommending we start prescribing medications to healthy people? Would they be doing that in an effort? What's your knee-jerk reaction? Are they doing that to help the people or to help their donors? By the way, they received $521 million in 2013 from places like Big Pharma. If they started prescribing, how many healthy people do you know are taking a statin because their dad had a heart attack, right? Here's an article I found. Help their donors, of course. Their donors, definitely, right? Let's just dive into that. I found an article on HuffPost. I don't normally go to HuffPost, but I found this to be an interesting article, okay? It was written in 2013. Well, guess what? In 2013, the American Heart Association and the American College of Cardiology did just that. The American Heart Association, this was titled The American Heart Association Protecting Industry and Not Patients. In 2013, the American Heart Association and the American College of Cardiology recently released new cardiovascular disease prevention guidelines. They are an egregious example of much that is wrong with medicine today. Now, who wrote this article? Somebody who just obviously hates doctors and hates medicine, right? Well, it was written by Dr. Barbara Roberts. Dr. Barbara Roberts. And she would say the guidelines propose a vast expansion of the use of statins in healthy people, recommending them for about 44% of men and 22% of healthy women between the ages of 40 and 75. They increased healthy people taking statin medications. And she would go on to say, it's right here. Yet in its 2011-2012 financial statement, the American Heart Association noted $521 million in donations from non-government and non-membership sources and many well-known large drug companies, including those who make and market statins, contributes in the amount of the 1 million range. Now, when they did this, when they rewrote those guidelines, what happened to the statin usage? Did it go up? Did it go down? Did it stay flat? Were more people on a statin after that? This little study right here actually looked at that. This study right here, this was, by the way, published online April of last year. Statins utilization trends and expenditures in the United States before and after the implementation of those guidelines, right? What did it do? This only looks through 2019. It does not look through 2023. So we only have through 2019. After 2013, the number of individuals who used statins increased by 149%, from 37 million in 2012 and 13 to 92 million in 2018 and 19. That is a staggering number, right? Now, let's go over to my guy, Dr. Ben Bikman. This guy right here, world's leading metabolic scientist, right? I'm just going to preface this with this. This is the world's leading metabolic scientist. This is my TikTok page. If you're not following me on TikTok, you should be. But I've got a video here of Dr. Ben Bikman talking about statins, those very medications. This is Dr. Ben Bikman.
Cholesterol is a molecule of, despite our general societal fear of it, it is involved in countless processes within every cell of the body. Unfortunately, our fear or hatred of cholesterol has given rise to the use of statins, which is a general class of medication that acts to inhibit the body's ability to create cholesterol. Well, that is a good way, a statin, to lower your cholesterol. There are consequences to this. Here's a manuscript that was just published in the European Journal of Pharmacology, and it outlines the evidence implicating statins as a molecule or a drug that increases the risk of insulin resistance and therefore type 2 diabetes. Ironically, insulin resistance is a greater predictor and risk factor for heart disease than LDL cholesterol is. So tragically, and again, ironically, despite lowering cholesterol levels, by increasing insulin resistance, we may be making the problem even worse.
How about that? Is that just powerful? Let's go over here. By the way, if you found that to be intriguing, just type interesting. Type interesting, okay? So this study right here, by the way, you can find this study by typing PubMed. Take a screenshot here. PubMed ID 37465091. Assessing the link between statins and insulin intolerance. Are statins actually causing insulin resistance? Is that actually happening? That's what this study looked at. And of course, if we are insulin resistant, well, how many other things can they prescribe us, right? So with that being said, assessing the link between statins and insulin intolerance, this study looked at a total of 46,728,889 participants. It wasn't small, 47 million people. The findings suggest that the use of statins is associated with a decrease in insulin sensitivity and insulin resistance. This systematic review provides evidence that the use of statins may have an adverse effect on insulin sensitivity and increase insulin resistance. Well, how about that, right? And let's look at this one here. Share this tab. Let's see. Statins and the risk of type 2 diabetes. I'll let you take a screenshot of that PubMed ID 37795336. Let's scroll down. Do statins cause type 2 diabetes? This, by the way, was done in September, I believe, of last year. Yep, September 19th, published online September 19th of last year. So not that old. And we're going to scroll down, just get down to the conclusions here because you don't want me to read this entire thing to you right now. In a meta-analysis of 15 observational studies, the risk of incident type 2 diabetes was 55%. 55%. In 4 individual studies, the risk of incident type 2 diabetes was from 36 to 48%, and in the U.S. veteran study, 21 to 22% for low and medium potency statins like pravastatin and fluvastatin, and 34% for high potency statins like simvastatin, atorvastatin, and rosuvastatin. So we have, guys, we have plenty of proof that statin medications are causing insulin resistance. A lot of people saying interesting. A lot of people saying definitely powerful. Interesting. Hallmark, interesting. Mary Jane says interesting. Rob, interesting. By the way, guys, very interactive live stream. Interact with me, and I appreciate all this interaction. I've really enjoyed this. If you are finding this to be useful or informational, if you think this is valuable, then do me a favor and share this. Who remembers this book right here? I'm going to put it up. Let's see. I'm going to turn this off, and I'm going to put this book up here. The Physician's Desk Reference. Who remembers that book? You might have seen this on your doctor's desk, right? The Physician's Desk Reference. Okay. Now, why do I bring this up? This is the place where your doctor would go to and find out information about commonly prescribed medications. Things like rosuvastatin, Rob. Things like atorvastatin, Lipitor, Crestor, right? So the Physician's Desk Reference. Why am I talking about the PDR? Let's go over here. I'm going to go to Google, and I'm going to type in Physician's Desk Reference, and there it is. And you will find the PDR.net, Prescriber's Digital Reference. You'll see that it's PDR, right? PDR, it's now in electronic form. It's not a membership thing. You can go there and put your own medications into it. And I encourage you to do so. Do you know what you're actually putting into your body, right? So let's go and let's type in Lipitor. How many people are on Lipitor? That is the name brand for atorvastatin calcium. So if you're on atorvastatin, say yes, type me. Okay, so this is Lipitor. You can go here and you can look it up. You can hit Lipitor, the drug summary, and then the adverse reactions. And of course, we have the severe adverse reactions, things like renal failure, pancreatitis, those are awful. But in your moderate adverse reactions, diabetes mellitus. Right there. We can go over to Crestor. We'll look up Crestor. There it is, rosuvastatin. I forget who this was. It was Rob said you're on rosuvastatin. So Crestor is the name brand for rosuvastatin. Let's hit drug summary there. And let's hit adverse reactions. Severe, we're going to have the same ones. Renal failure, pancreatitis, that's awful. Moderate adverse reaction, diabetes. Remember, in 2013, the American Heart Association and the American College of Cardiology recommended prescribing this, well, according to Dr. Barbara Roberts, to about 44% of healthy men and 22% of healthy women. Healthy. We are actively giving healthy people a medication that will make them insulin resistant. And what happens when they are insulin resistant? How many other medications can they take? In fact, how many are you taking? How many medications? Yes. Mary Jane says even depression is on there. Yes. I did a video. When I'm done with this, guys, go sifting through my videos on TikTok. I did a video on TikTok. It's about Dr. Cynthia Calkin. Dr. Cynthia Calkin is a psychologist out of the Pacific Northwest, and She was looking at possible connections between insulin resistance and bipolar treatment disorder. If you struggle with mental health, if you feel like it's challenging to keep your mental health stable, well, that might be an interesting video to you. Okay. Now, who remembers Rexall Pharmacy? Does anybody here remember Rexall Pharmacy? Yes or no, Rexall Pharmacy? Actually, I'm going to reshare this, and we're going to go over here to, yes. The V's experience says yes, very, very emphatically. Yes. Barbara Kirkland. Yes. Christina, at one point, so Rexall is like 120 something years old. They were at one point very, very prominent throughout North America. They're not quite as prominent in the United States, but they still are in Canada. At one point, there were about 11,600 independently owned. Yes, me, Rob, keep listening here, Rob. The VZ experience, it was on every other block in my city when I was growing up. I miss Rexall, right? The VZ experience, that's what they were. I mean, your grandparents might have taken you there to get a malt, right? A malt shake or something. So at one point, they were about as prominent as a McDonald's is today. There were about 11,600 locations at their peak. There are about 13,000 McDonald's. So by comparison, that's pretty frequent. Now, in the late 80s, early 90s, they developed a fiber supplement. Now, if we understand a good blend of fiber is necessary, what they did was they took that blend of fiber. So it's got 7 different types of fibers in it. There are 5 different patents on it. Think about that. 5. Why would somebody put 5 patents on a blend of fiber? They also thought that vitamin supplementation was going to be necessary in the years to come. They thought our foods were being stripped of the vitamins, and we were going to have to supplement with vitamins moving forward. So what they did was they took that blend of fiber and they added a multivitamin to it. And that became known as a fiber and multivitamin combination therapy. Fiber multivitamin combination, right? So what you would do is you would just mix some of this product up and drink it before you ate. And it was supposed to help lower cholesterol, help people lose weight. It was really kind of the thing that Rexall was hinging their future on to try and save the company, honestly. And that product, 35 years later, is still around. That product has been studied all over the world. Not my comment. That is your comment on the big screen. Yes, it is. Okay, Mary Jane, it is not Benefiber. Benefiber is wheat dextrin. It is a single source fiber. Remember, we need a wide variety of fibers. What Rexall did was they came with 7 different fibers and paired it with a multivitamin. Now that 7 different fibers and multivitamin, it was to be known as a fiber and multivitamin combination therapy. Now, all the talk that we just had about heart conditions, let's talk about this. Go to Google and ask Google, what is the top heart hospital in the United States? The Cleveland Clinic. Is it safe to assume that the Cleveland Clinic would know a thing or two about cholesterol-lowering medications, statin drugs? The top heart hospital, they probably know a thing or two about atorvastatin, simvastatin, right? Rosuvastatin. Why am I talking about the Cleveland Clinic? Well, the Cleveland Clinic did a published research paper on a fiber and multivitamin combination therapy. The Cleveland Clinic looked at that product that was made by Rexall Pharmacy 35 years ago. In fact, they looked at it in 2001. This study is from the preventative cardiology section of the Cleveland Clinic, submitted November 15, 2001, accepted February 14 of 2002. And they would test it on just about everything: LDL, total cholesterol, HDL, triglycerides. Did I say total cholesterol, overall body weight, glucose, ApoB? The Cleveland Clinic, after looking at all of that, the Cleveland Clinic would go on to say, such a product, if taken regularly, could reduce cardiovascular risk on a population basis and potentially decrease the need and or dose for lipid-lowering prescription drugs. I want to break that sentence apart, okay? Let's dissect that sentence and put it back together. Such a product, Rexall Pharmacy's product, if taken regularly, once or twice a day, could reduce cardiovascular risk on a population basis, that is heart disease for everybody, and potentially decrease the need and or dose for lipid-lowering prescription drugs, statin medications. The Cleveland Clinic more than 20 years ago was suggesting that there was a plant-based product, all natural, no side effects, and it could be a solution to a statin medication. Right? Is that interesting to anybody? I talked earlier about the glycemic index, and I showed this little thing from the Mayo Clinic talking about the glycemic index, right? If you go to Google and ask Google, what is the home of the glycemic index? It will tell you the International Glycemic Index database and website are led by Professor Jenny Brand-Miller at the University of Sydney, Australia. Professor Jenny Brand-Miller, put her name into your head, right? If you go to glycemicindex.com, it will take you to the University of Sydney, Australia. If you hit the About page, it will real quickly talk about her, Professor Jenny Brand-Miller. Professor Jenny Brand-Miller is an internationally recognized authority on carbohydrates and the glycemic index with over 250 scientific publications. We should listen to Dr. Jenny Brand-Miller, right? There are few people, if any, in the world who understand glucose regulation, glycemic index, like her. We should listen to her, right? Well, Dr. Jenny Brand-Miller studied the effects of the same product. She's at the Department of Biochemistry, School of Molecular Bioscience, Bowden Institute of Obesity, Nutrition, and Exercise and Eating, University of Sydney, Australia. Remember, the Mayo Clinic talked about the three different types of foods that would be high in the glycemic index: white rice, white bread, and potatoes. Dr. Jenny Brand-Miller studied the effects of that Rexall Pharmacy product against those three products: white rice, white bread, and mashed potato. In each case, Dr. Jenny Brand-Miller and her team at the University of Sydney found that it lowered the glycemic as well as the insulin index, all three foods. It took them from high to medium. Now, they didn't stop there. They studied it a second time, and in this case, they gave test patients white bread, again a 100 on the glycemic index, and they found that it lowered the blood glucose levels by 20 to 28%, the blood insulin levels by 13 to 27%. Those are absolutely massive numbers that were done by Dr. Jenny Brand-Miller at the University of Sydney, Australia. I am absolutely on YouTube. See you, Tanya. So, what we have is a product that has been studied all over the world. In fact, there are more than a dozen clinical validation studies done on that product from Rexall Pharmacy. In fact, this guy here, Dr. Ben Bickman, world's leading metabolic scientist, that guy right there is the director of the scientific advisory board for this company. The world's leading metabolic scientist is the director of the scientific advisory board for this company. I want to talk about, some people had asked me about it earlier, where to get it. I'm going to address that real quick, and then we're going to transition over to a Q&A, okay? So the two products come together in a kit. That kit lasts 30 days. That kit costs $159 in the United States. It's available all over the world. all over the world. There is a link in my bio for the manufacturer's website. The link in my bio is not, you're not buying a single thing from me. You would be buying it direct from the manufacturer. They would then send the product directly to you. So how does this look? I also want to add real quick, they do offer a 90-day money-back guarantee. If you're not satisfied with the product, they will give you all of your money back. Mel is listening to us from Australia, and she's on the product in Australia. Costs $170 in Australian dollars in there. So all over the world. Rob, thank you for being on here. Gotta go. You are welcome, Rob. If you're struggling with this, there is an all-natural solution that's science-based. Real quick, if you are interested in buying the product but don't know how to find the link in my bio, then type help. If you're interested in buying the product but don't know how to find the link in my bio, type help. I will know exactly what you're talking about. Mary Jane, thank you. Those are very kind words, and thank you for listening to me. Guys, on this system, I've been able to reverse my type 2 diabetes. What I want to do here, let's do this. Everybody loves, Verdell Hewitt says help. Okay, Verdell, do you know how to get to my homepage on TikTok? Do you know how to get to my homepage on TikTok? And for our listeners right now that are on Twitter, Facebook, and Twitch, the same goes for you guys. If you know how to get to the homepage on your social media platform, Rob, do you know how to get to my homepage? Okay, so here we go. I'm going to show you on TikTok because I happen to have my TikTok live stream on my personal phone right here. Okay, this right here. If you go up top, you will see a profile picture of me on TikTok. Do you see that profile picture right there? If you tap that profile picture, it will bring up a banner across the middle of the screen. In the middle of the screen, you will see a new picture, a new profile picture of me. Tap that profile. When you tap that, it will take you out to my home screen, okay? When you're at my home screen, you will see the link right in the middle of my page. Now, let me go to my TikTok here. So this is my TikTok, and of course, this is on my laptop, so it looks a little bit different, but overall, this is my home page. You will see my bio, and I don't care if you're on Twitter or YouTube or whatever, you'll see my bio. I'm a competitive barbecue cook who fought the Grim Reaper and won. This is my story. That is my bio. Underneath that, you will find a link, Linktree/The Healthy Pitmaster. If you click that link, it will bring you here. Okay, these are all of the links that I recommend. The first link is the Unicity Feel Great system. When you go there, let me just emphasize, this is Unicity's website. It is not my website. You're not buying a single thing from me. In the US, it's $159 per month. If you're like me, in most cases, you're going to go to Amazon and look it up there. First off, it's not an authorized sale on Amazon. And second off, $250, $218, $240, and it's not even being sold by the manufacturer. So go to the manufacturer's website. That is the tab. That's the link in my bio is Unicity. You're giving them your money. Now, you'll see the buy now. That is a pretty typical online checkout system. You get an option to pick your flavors for your tea. They have lemon, lemon ginger, and apple spice. I love the apple spice. It's limited time. If you like apple cider, that's what it tastes like. I really just recommend lemon to start. If you scroll down a little ways, you will see the products. The tea is called Unimate. The fiber is called Balance. If you scroll down a little further, there is a Learn More. If you click that Learn More, you'll find the ingredients, the nutritional information, and all that. Guys, they aren't holding any secrets. If you scroll to the very bottom, you will find science, a link for science. If you click that, it will take you to unicityscience.org. That is their science page. If you go to research, that will show you all of the clinical validation studies. If you scroll through here, you could read all of these clinical validation studies. This is called proof, okay? Keep scrolling. You will come across this one right here, fiber multivitamin combination therapy. This is the one from the Cleveland Clinic. If you want to read it, just hit see full study. If you scroll a little further, there's one of the two from the University of Sydney. But I want to point at the top left, the science team, okay? The science team up top, that little tab, if you click that, you'll see the About Us. This is a science-based company putting out a food-based product. And we've been taught as of late, trust the science, trust the science. This is a science-based company, okay? They have 3 PhD level doctorates in their research and development lab alone. They've also got a scientific advisory board. Dr. Ben Bickman is the director of the scientific advisory board. One final thing, we were talking about the PDR. Remember all of this talk about the PDR? If you type Metamucil into the PDR and hit search, there are no results. Somebody mentioned Benefiber. There are no results. If you type Unicity, there are 19 different instances, including Balance, which is the fiber, including Unimate, which is the tea. There are 19 different instances of Unicity products in the PDR. Your doctor can look them up in the PDR. Guys, I want to say there are no side effects. It's plant-based, and they give you a 90-day money-back guarantee. Why wouldn't, if you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, why wouldn't you try something different? Okay, so with that being said, let's see. eBay is saying, let's see. Yes. Okay. I'm going to catch up on some comments here. Real quick, is there anybody who, I'm just going to recircle real quick. Is there anybody that wants to order the product but does not know how? And if that is you, then type the word help. Yes, BIOS Life C is what it is in Australia. So in the United States, we call it Balance. In the let's see, the Middle East to the Far East, it's called BIOS Life. In Australia, it's called BIOS Life. But in the United States and in Europe and in Africa, it's called Balance. North America, South America. Andrea, okay, Andrea, I see you. You are on TikTok. Do you know how to find my homepage, Andrea, on TikTok? Do you know how to get to my homepage? That would be the page with my profile picture and all of my videos. Do you know how to get to that page? I'm just waiting on Andrea. If you know how to get to that page, yes or no? No. Okay, Andrea. So here's how you do it. Okay, you're watching my live stream right now, right? In the upper left corner, there is a profile picture of me right next to the Healthy Pitmaster. You'll see the Healthy Pitmaster and the profile picture. Tap that profile picture. When you tap it, it will bring up this little screen right here. When you tap that profile picture, it will take you to my homepage. Once you're at my homepage, there is a link in my bio. It says Linktree/The Healthy Pitmaster. You click that, and then the very first link in there is Unicity's website. Okay, come back to me. Let me know if you have any questions, if you're struggling with that. I guess I could also do this, guys. I'm going to put something else up. I don't know why I didn't think to do this earlier. You are welcome, Andrea. About $159 a month, guys. So worth it. If it doesn't work, ask for a refund. They give you all your money back after 90 days. If it doesn't work, they will give you all of your money back. If you're not happy, if you're not 100% satisfied. So let me do this. I'm going to put this up there. Okay. There you go. That, if y'all want to take a screenshot, that's an excellent place to go as well. You could take a screenshot of that, and that's all the information there. And give me a follow on if you're on multiple platforms, multiple multiple social media platforms, give me a follow on all of them, right? I'm on every, if there's a social media platform out there, I'm probably on it. So you can find me there. Also, if you do order the system, I'm going to personally be sending you a text. Okay. It'll be coming from me directly. It's not coming from some service. It'll be coming from my phone, the same phone I use to call my wife on. So, and it's just me trying to help you out. I don't work for Unicity. It's just me. That's kind of one of the benefits of starting this is you get somebody who's already been on it and knows a thing or two about it. So are there any questions for me, guys? If there's any questions whatsoever, and that's a broad spectrum question, right? If you have any questions of me, ask away. What questions do you have of me? Diet, fasting times, maybe you have questions about the protocol. What questions do you have for me? I'm a pretty wide open book. If I have the answer, I'll certainly give it to you. If I don't have the answer, I'll look into it. Also, if you are one of the people that doesn't like to ask a question in the comment section on the internet, then send me a direct message. I answer all of those questions as well. Mel, how did this live stream go? Does it seem like I'm starting to get this multi-stream going? Mary Jane, you know what, Mary Jane, Mary, let me pin that comment. Mary Jane, thank you so much for everything. Got to go. You know what? Thank you for trusting me. You've given me your ear for over an hour now. That means the world to me. That definitely, you wouldn't listen to me if you didn't think that I was trustworthy, and that means the world to me, okay? Give me a follow. I do live streams every single day. I'm going to be more and more and more consistent with my timing because it's my understanding TikTok is not pushing out notifications letting people know that I am going live. So I'm thinking it'll be really consistent, 8:30 in the morning Mountain Standard Time. So that'll be 9:30 Central, 10:30 Eastern, and 7:30 Pacific. So awesome, Mary Jane. Definitely. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to me, okay? Don't ever hesitate to reach out to me. Worship. What's the normal time I should see results on the system? My numbers are in the 300s. Okay, so worship, I wish I had a one-size-fits-all answer for you, but I don't like to BS people. Everybody's different. Are you wearing a continuous glucose monitor? Do you wear a CGM or do you just test randomly? And it's also my understanding that you are unmedicated. Did you say that earlier, that you are unmedicated? Okay, no, you don't wear a CGM. Are you unmedicated? Yes or no? You just test, okay? You get on the system and start adhering to it, okay? And this is the deal. You are unmedicated. So first off, you need to do something, okay? You need to do something. I'm not a fan of the medications either. I would never suggest anybody do what you're doing. However, if you're going to do it, you have to make some sort, and I'm sure you know this, that's why you've been listening to me for a number of hours now. You have to make some sort of life-changing something, right? I would be willing to bet that you're going to see a pretty drastic reduction in your glucose numbers within the first 10 days. Like you'll, I can't wait to get the call. If you signed up today, let's see, you're going to get, I don't know where you're at. What state are you comfortable putting your state out there? Let's say 4 to 5 days to get the product. So the 28th, I bet by May. Yeah. Okay. So Virginia, yeah, you're going to get 5 days to have your product. We have a distribution outlet in Atlanta, Georgia. So not that far. So 28th, you're on the system. The 29th, I bet you by the 5th or 6th of May, you're starting to send me texts saying, dude, what is going on? I didn't think this could happen. It's literally that easy. Literally that easy. Let me go through the protocol, by the way. For those that are curious, what is the protocol? So I wake up in the morning and I'm in my fasted state, so I'm not going to break my fast. Like right now, I'm fasting. It's about 10:45 here in Colorado. I'm not eating. So I wake up and I take one of the teas, and they send you a bottle. Of course, I don't have one right next to me, but they send you a bottle with the system, okay? And that bottle has a line to fill up with water to the tea. I don't use that for my tea. I have a 24-ounce Yeti tumbler mug. You've seen these, right? I dump the tea into there, and then I have an electric kettle on my counter where I heat up some water, and I heat it up to like coffee temperature. I like hot drinks in the morning, like coffee. So I heat it up to coffee temp. I just pour that into here, give it a quick little stir. And you've been watching. I've been live now for over 2 hours, and you've been watching. I'm still sipping the same drink. It'll take me 3 hours to drink this, okay? Now, I mentioned earlier, Ro asked the question, how many do I drink in a day? I have 3 to 4 per day. The kit will come with 2. The kit will come with 2. If you want, you can buy extra. You don't need to buy extra, by the way. You don't ever have to buy extra. The kit comes with all you need. However, if you're like a lot of us, you might think, man, I want to drink some more. So what happens is when I'm done with this, I just transition into my next one. This one I always drink cold. That's just my own personal preference. I drink it cold. And then you're going to drink that. I transition right into this. You're going to find a lower appetite. Your appetite is very suppressed when you're drinking this tea. Satrohan Boodram, I drink mine right away. That's the same thing with me, right? I do the same thing. And would you agree, Satrohan, that your appetite is very suppressed when you are drinking it? You don't really even think about food. So what's going to happen when you drink that second one? You are going to see that appetite suppression is going to go right through lunch. You're going to eat your lunch. You just won't be as hungry. You won't eat as much. So I always say, be wise with your decisions at lunch. You know, maybe we don't have to have pizza every single day. You know, let's make better decisions at the table. That's just going to benefit you regardless of whether you're on the system or not. Make better decisions at the table. Now, when you get to dinner, you're going to take the balanced fiber and you're going to mix it. The system comes with that bottle, and there's a line for that. Add water to there, add this, give it about 8 to 10 shakes real quick, and then chug that one as fast as you can, and then eat your food. It's that simple of a system. At 8 p.m., start your fast again. Don't eat basically after 8 p.m. Don't need to get until noon the following day. Now, that schedule is very flexible. You can customize that schedule however you want. Yep. And Worship says, don't need to lose weight. I only weigh 118 pounds. It's not a weight loss program. It's not a weight loss program. Just to be clear, it is not a weight loss program. It is an insulin sensitizing, insulin reversing. It helps reverse insulin resistance. Okay. So, and it's not a weight loss program. It's just going to help you get metabolically healthy. You're going to find your body will stabilize at a weight that it enjoys. Your blood pressures will normalize. And if they don't, if you're the person that 90 days in, your blood pressure doesn't normalize, your cholesterol hasn't come down, your A1C hasn't come down, your blood sugars haven't come down, well, ask for a refund. It's a beautiful, how easy is that? How easy is that? So let me ask the question, who wants to order the product but does not know how to? And if that is you, then type the word help. If you want to order the system but you don't know how, type the word help. I will drop everything and address you right away. And to that point, I'm getting a lot of awesome questions. I love the engagement. Let's see. Christina Copeland, if I'm taking Ozempic, when would I stop it after starting this product? Christina, wonderful question. Okay, so I was on Trulicity, which is a similar product to Ozempic, right? I was on a 4.5 milligram pen of Trulicity. That's the max dose of Trulicity. I was on that. I started this product, ran the two side by side simultaneously, right? Did my Ozempic or my Trulicity once a week. And when I ran out of one of, because they come in 4-packs, when I ran out of one of my prescriptions, I was noticing my glucose numbers my fasting glucose was in like the high 80s, the low 90s. My postprandial, so that's the 2 hours after you eat, That number was like in the low 100s, 102, 104, that sort of thing. And when it got there, I ran out of my prescription and I sent my doctor, my endocrinologist, I sent her a text, not a text, an email through the messaging service that they have, and basically said, hey, do I need to refill this? I think I'm in remission. And she called and left me a voicemail that said, that sounds perfectly reasonable. Don't bother refilling it. We've got an appointment in April. Let's just follow up then. We'll check your A1C at that point. And she told me, she said, make sure and check your glucose numbers regularly between now and then to make sure it doesn't start to run away. And I've been unmedicated. That message from her was February 17th, the last of 2023. The last time I injected any Trulicity was February 14th. And I guess to Worship's question, how quick to get results, I started at January 4th. So January 4th to February 14th, whatever that time, I think it was 42 days. In addition to that, right, on day number 2, and I'm not joking, day number 2, I had suffered from IBS for more than 15, 20 years, like a long time. Like I didn't like to leave the house. I didn't like to travel because I would find myself needing to use a restroom pretty frequently. On day number 2, that was solved. That was fixed. Day number 2. So if you have irritable bowel syndrome, this tends to address that. And for me, it did very quick. High blood pressure took me about 7 or 8 months really for my blood pressure to somewhat normalize. My cholesterol medications, I went back for that April doctor's appointment and my cholesterol numbers were all normal. She took me off my statin medications. So I am, by the way, completely unmedicated. I talk a lot about my diabetes, but I'm completely unmedicated. I'm not on any diabetic medication. I'm not on any cholesterol lowering medications. I'm not on any heart, high blood pressure. I'm on nothing. I'm completely unmedicated. I sip my tea and I drink my balance. I hope that answered your question, Christina. I never, ever, ever suggest that anybody, where did that quit? Oh, there it is. I'd never suggest that anybody quits taking their medications on their own. Okay. Never, ever recommend that. I'm not a doctor. I don't give any medical advice. So, but if you are if you're this person Worship 757 and you are completely unmedicated, that's a problem and you're going to get sick. But you know what, Worship? So Worship is completely unmedicated. I'm going to talk about somebody who's very similar. You would probably identify with this person. Actually, let me leave that up. I'm going to go to my photos and I'm going to show this guy, Tony. Where's he at? Well, maybe I don't see him right away. I've had a lot of people have had amazing results on this. Why am I not seeing Tony? There he is. Tony. Take a screenshot of that. If you're not giving Tony a follow, you should be. That guy right there. So Tony was 30 years a pre-diabetic. Like he had narrowly escaped it for 30 years. And then he got type 2. And they put him on medications. They put him on metformin. And it did the same thing to him that it does to everybody. It just upset his stomach. It upset his stomach so bad that he didn't like it. The gotta run to the restroom just didn't fit him. He's like, I don't want to do that. And he quit taking his medications in December of 22. Tony came across my live stream in March of 23. So 4 months later, he had to make some sort of a decision. He had to make a move because his A1C had gone up to 10.7. 10.7. He started this system and in 90 days, completely unmedicated. And I'm not suggesting anybody does this. It's an interesting similarity to Worship, right? Completely unmedicated, 10.7% A1C. In 90 days, he was a 6.3. By the way, 6.3 is pre-diabetic. So he had gone from fully diabetic to pre-diabetic in 3 months. And that's a pretty powerful story. Tony, by the way, if you're not following him, Tony does live streams now. He is just like everybody else who has an amazing experience on the system. He does live streams now and talks about those live streams every single day. So give Tony a follow and listen to his live streams if you're curious for another perspective on this. That is on TikTok, by the way. If you want to give Tony a follow, you got to give him a follow on TikTok. He may have some other social media platforms. It's Fire It Up, FIYREITUP. Fire It Up. Instead of being FIRE, it's FIYRE. Fire It Up. Give him a follow. Okay, so are there any other questions? Does anybody have any questions for me? And I love the social proof. I talk a lot about social proof and then a lot about, you know, the other types of proof that are out there, the science proof, the clinical validation studies. It's in the PDR. The world's leading metabolic scientist is the director of the scientific advisory board. I mean, more than a dozen clinical validation studies on it by the top institutions in the world, like the Cleveland Clinic, the University of Sydney. It's also been studied at Stanford, UNLV. It's been studied all over the world, BYU, all over the world. So what other questions do we have? And I'm going to ask the question, does anybody want to order the system but does not know how to? And if that is you, then type the word help. If you want to order the system but you don't know how, then type the word help. Okay? Costs $159 in the United States. It's a 30-day supply. It's about $5.30 per day. Or do you have questions about my diet? Do you have questions about my daily routine? What questions do you have? This is I'm a wide open book. And it got pretty quiet here, so I'm probably going to start wrapping it up. We are at 20,000 likes on TikTok, 29 shares on TikTok. That is Lupe. Lupe asks the question. Oh, hey. I'm noticing it looks like some of my comments are not coming through. Okay, so I'm sorry. On my laptop, it looks like Christina's comment was the last one that I got, the one about Ozempic. So I'm having to look at the comments on my Facebook, on the actual feed, and it's a little bit slower. So Lupe asks, what's your diet routine? What my diet routine is, it's pretty simple. I listen to Dr. Bickman a lot. And I listened to an interview where somebody asked him the question, what do you eat in a day, in a given day? I have a ton of respect for the guy, so I'm going to listen to him. And he mentioned he's a professor at BYU. And so there's a hot dog cart down the road from his office. And he says, I'll go down to the hot dog cart and I'll get 2 of the really large hot dogs and I'll put a little bit of sauerkraut and some orange mustard or some yellow mustard on it. And that'll be his lunch. Very, very low carb, high protein. And then at dinner, he'll kind of eat whatever his family serves. In another interview, I heard him talking about having leftover taco fillings. So the taco meat, not the shells. He didn't have the shells. He just had the taco meat, the lettuce, and that sort of thing for his lunch. And again, very high protein, very low carb. So what I gathered from him was at lunchtime, the way that I do it is at lunchtime, I'm generally by myself. It's 11 o'clock here in Colorado. Kids are at school. My wife's at work. I'm here by myself. I'm going to have bacon and eggs. I love bacon and eggs. I'll have bacon and eggs for breakfast. Breakfast. It'll be at noon, right? When am I breaking my fast? It'll be at noon. And then at dinner, my wife and I tend to stay on the lower carb end of things. We both come to the realization that carbs are a bit of a problem, not just in our lives, but in society. And so we are really trying to reduce the carbs. I would say that we generally go with something that is either Mediterranean in theme or keto at dinner. But we also cheat couple nights ago, her family was in town and we all went for our favorite pizza. But generally, I would say that we have a lot of fish. We have a lot of steak. We love steak, that sort of thing. If we go to a steak house, we'll get real mashed potatoes. If we're cooking at home, we'll use riced mashed potatoes. Cauliflower mashed potatoes. We do a lot of things, alternatives like that. We'd go for the cauliflower rice as opposed to the white rice when we're cooking at home. If we're going out to eat, we'll kind of save those splurges for when we go out for sushi or something like that. I hope that kind of answers your question, Lupe. Does that help? User 1574 just got my delivery by FedEx starting month 3. Yes. How are you feeling, 1574? It's 1 p.m. now. Haven't ate just yet, so I'm trying to figure out what to eat now. I generally stay very low carb at lunch. I'm by myself. It's easy. You know, I like air fried chicken wings, things like that. Okay. What other, also another thing that we don't talk enough about, but I avoid seed oils. I'm really starting to come in tune with what the seed oil issue is doing with it. They're not good for us. They're causing a problem. So I just mentioned air fried. I like air fried foods. I'm keeping the seed oils away from me. Amazing. Inflammation is going down. That is awesome. Let me see here. I'm going to the chat feature with TikTok quit working. Okay. What other questions are there, folks? And I'm probably going to start wrapping this up. I'm at 2.5 hours on this live stream. That's quite a while to be live. I love that, though. 1574 says, amazing. Inflammation is going down. What are seed oils and what are the issues? So seed oils cause inflammation. Rob, do you have inflammation issues? I'm sorry, I'm being responded to. My chat feature isn't, let's see, just quit working with TikTok. Olive oil is wonderful. So seed oils, let's think about things like canola oil, vegetable oil, grapeseed oil, those types of oils, right? They are causing inflammation, and that's a huge controversy, right? Which side of the aisle are you on? I tend to lead towards the metabolic scientists on that issue, and the metabolic scientists are saying to stay away from the seed oils. That's a reasonably easy one for me to do. I have olive oil and avocado oil here. I will use one or the other depending on what the application is. So when I'm having like a salad and I want to drizzle a little bit of oil over it, olive oil, extra virgin olive oil. When I'm going to pan fry something in oil, I do not use olive oil. You don't want to exceed the smoke point of any oil. When you do that, you stand the chance of developing trans fats, and our bodies don't like trans fats. That's the whole margarine issue from the 50s, right? We don't like the trans fats thing. So don't exceed the smoke point of the oil, and olive oil has a very low smoke point. So avocado oil, by comparison, has a very high smoke point. So I will oftentimes pan fry in avocado oil. Again, extra virgin avocado oil. I'm getting a response here real quick on my chat feature issue. In the past, Restream has done something to reconnect the chat while I was live. I can't and don't want to stop my live stream. You find out what. Okay. Okay. I have arthritic problems all over, hands, feet, shoulders. Rob, try this system, man. Try this system. And if you are if you're stricken with arthritis, I would try this system. And I would really, in addition to this system, I would really focus on lowering your carbohydrate intake. Just help lower your carbohydrate. You're going to feel like $1,000,000, right? I bet your diet is probably pretty high in carbohydrates, right? Okay. And those seed oils, if you're eating fried foods at restaurants, they're not using avocado oil. They're using vegetable oil or something like that. Going to be a problem. What other questions do we have, guys? There it is. The chat feature got reconnected. Okay, let them know. Okay. All right, I got my chat feature back. So, okay. What other questions? Yeah, for the most part, your diet's high in carbs. So there you go, bud. There is an absolute connection. In fact, here's a challenge for you, Rob. Here's a challenge for you. Should you accept it? Strip your carbs. Go to an extremely low carbohydrate diet for a week. Right? Maybe even like a carnivore diet. Maybe even a carnivore diet, like strip all of your carbs and see if your arthritis gets better. And I bet you're going to say yes. And I'm not going to say be a carnivore diet for the rest of your life, because that's really challenging, but it might illustrate to you the connection between your carbohydrate intake and your joint pain. Okay, I'm getting a response from the okay. Try that. But Rob, honestly, I tell you what, man, this system, I would say that this system has changed my life. So far as to say, saved my life. I want to ask a question real quick. I'm getting ready to wrap up. I've said that a few times. I'm getting ready to wrap up, but how many people are listening to me for the first time? If you've never listened to my live stream before, type the word new. If you've been here before, type been here. Right? If you've heard me before, type been here. If you're new to me, type new. And I'm ready to transition into my second one because that drink is gone. Verdell, Rob, a lot of people new. Rob is new. Worship is new. Brenda has been here. Hi, Brenda. What do you drink? I drink mostly the tea that I'm buying from them or water. Great question. Okay. Before I wrap it up, is there anybody that wants to purchase the system but does not know how to? And if that is you, then type the word help and I will know exactly what you're talking about. And I will drop everything and help you out right away. So anybody that wants to buy the system but does not know how to, If that is you, type the word help, and I will drop everything and help you right away. Looking to see. Got a few new orders here. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up, guys. Chat got quiet. Looks like we got a lot of people over on Twitter, Facebook, Twitch. Thank you. If you are interested, I do one of these live streams every single day. I'm going to start doing them every single day at 8:30 Mountain Standard Time in the morning. I'm going to be very consistent with that since TikTok is not pushing out my notifications to anybody. So I'm going to start becoming very consistent to 8:30 in the morning, Mountain Standard Time. So if you want, come join me tomorrow, 8:30 in the morning. I'm also, it's my understanding that Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, they are pushing out my notifications. So if you would like to get notified when I go live, go give me a follow on one of those and watch the live stream over there because they are pushing out my notifications. So that is something else that could be done, right? If you want to watch this live stream in its entirety, it is up on my Facebook page, my TikTok, or my YouTube page, and my Twitter page. And you can find me at The Real Jim BBQ on all of those platforms. If you just screenshot this thing right there. Also, if you hit that, if you tap that QR code, that will take you to how to purchase the product as well. So just some basic information there. Guys, on TikTok alone, we've got about 21,000 likes, 29 shares. I can't really see how many new followers. Yeah, I can actually. No, I can't actually. I can't see how many new followers. So a lot. Yeah, there we go. I appreciate every like, comment, follow, share. That indicates a clear level of trust in the words that are coming out of my mouth, and that means the world to me. I don't take that lightly. In fact, I cherish it. So thank you very much for trusting me. This is a very sensitive topic. This is your health. This is the health of a loved one. I don't take that lightly. I take that very seriously, and I appreciate your level of trust that you've shown me, and I will do everything that I can forever and ever to uphold that level of trust, okay? So come back and watch tomorrow. If you want to rewatch this live stream for some reason, it will be up on my Facebook, my Twitter, and my YouTube. And I will, oh man, been thinking about you all morning. Think about you all morning. Literally one of the first things that popped into my mind this morning. So, all right. See you guys. You guys have a wonderful day. And if you aren't, by the way, following Done with Diabetes, do. If you're on TikTok, follow Done with Diabetes. Give her a follow. She is an amazing follow. Brenda, thank you for sharing your journey with us and your knowledge. Brenda, thank you for trusting me. Thank you for listening. All right, guys.